Start live.
There we go. There we go.
Yay.
Hi, Pens.
Hey, Pens.
Oh, man.
Let's see.
Big, tall, and ugly. Not Pens. The ogre that I just killed. That could have been really bad. I'm sorry. It's been a long week. Hi,
Yes.
Black Flag.
Hey, Black Flag.
I didn't have a chance to do my prep for top 3. Do you want to flip it with the next top 3? Because that one's a little bit easier.
What's the next one?
Podcast.
Top 3 podcasts. Cole, do you have a list off the top of your head of that?
Sure.
It's either
Okay.
that or Destiny story missions.
Well, I thought, yeah, because I already prepped her on the Disney story.
Oh, okay.
missions.
She's already prepped.
can-
Okay. No. That's
Yeah.
fine. That's fine. Okay, let's do that.
And
I'll
my
just-
research
Do you want-
stay blue.
Do you want the Destinypedia real quick that has a list of all of them?
No, I can do that. Just don't put me first.
Okay. Here's the link to the Destinypedia missions. The list of all the names.
Yay! I might have been Googling that right away.
Uh-huh. I did earlier. I was like, I don't remember what they called this one.
I couldn't remember any of the names of the ones I like.
Top 3. What was it? Top 3
Story missions.
Story missions.
And I meant next week. Top
Podcasts.
3 podcasts.
Oh, yeah.
Gotcha.
And then shit, I can't remember what the next one is. I'll get it to you.
Okay.
I have it somewhere.
Yeah, that's the only thing I don't like about the new polling system that we had is I don't get to see what the results are.
I can send them to you.
That would be wonderful.
Yep.
I have a heads up too.
I like surprising you.
Yeah, it's like top
because
3 tonight.
it's your series.
Right. Oh my goodness. Screwball! Hey, Screwball.
Hey, Screwball.
Actually,
Oh,
Cole, we're playing that mission right now that you like so much on
Oh,
Titan.
Utopia?
Mm-hmm.
Utopia.
Yeah, because we're helping Raz get through the campaign since she switched over to PS4 for a while to play with Hydra.
Aww.
Yeah, she wants to get more competitive, and the girls, for as great as they are and as lovely as they are not very competitive.
Hmm. Okay, I think I am good to go. Yes.
Oh, I need to get the actual start of top 3 pulled up. That would be helpful instead of just crashing into things. Let me see. Because this is the mission with the tanks. Whee! All right. Let me know when you're ready, Blue, for stuff. We got to start. She says she has Audacity too. If we want
Yep.
to do Audacity
Awesome.
recording.
Yes, if that's okay, I prefer that actually.
Okay,
Yeah.
it makes it easier to clean stuff up.
I've gotten used to it, and then we did it last time, and I was like, no,
Yeah.
I can't scrub individuals.
AKA, you can't mute Marley's dogs.
No, I did that. I managed. I've gotten pretty good at that one,
Okay.
which is I don't mean anything negative about that.
Oh no, they're just
Got
loud.
a lot of practice with that one. It's like Julie's home.
Yeah.
Mute.
Yeah, she's gonna be coming home a bit later, so I'm gonna try to
So I just
clean
logged
that up
in.
ahead of time.
I logged into Destiny, and first thing, I haven't even gotten my character, and it's like, your glory went up. Wait, what?
Yeah. Yeah, if you play any comp matches during the week, I think it's like 2 matches, it'll automatically boost your glory. I'm actually going to talk about that a little bit on the show because
Is that new?
No, well, within the last 6 months.
So yeah, because that's right, because we had to do that for invitations. That's right, because that's when I did my crazy game of we ran out of medals. That's right.
You actually ran out of medals in comp?
Yeah,
Good
first
for
game,
you.
first game in comp, I had a 25-0 game.
Damn,
I was like,
Cole had a good match that game too.
I chalked it up to, you've never matched me against people and you don't know what I'm doing. Because I ran Wishender and I was like, ha ha ha, your hiding holes are no match.
Oh my goodness.
I'm that person. I have
Sometimes
no
Dean's that person.
I have no shame admitting that. I'm like, nope. Oathbreakers and Wishender. I literally ran around the entire time. I was like, and there you are, and there you are, and there you are, and there you are.
We played Cowboys and Indians. Was it yet 2 days ago when we were scrimming? And I actually had a blast with it because I put on Wishender and I was just that asshole in the back, pinging and calling out where all the hand cannons were because one team had hand cannons, the other team had bows, and that's all you got to use. It was hilarious. I enjoyed it.
Although I did pick the wrong map. Midtown was not the map to do that on.
You gave it to the bows because of
I
that.
did. I really did.
All right, let's get Audacity started.
Immolation.
Everybody ready?
Yes.
Let me make sure it's on the right microphone.
Yes, I am ready.
Just changing it to the correct microphone so I don't have a weird audio like I did that one time.
Please, otherwise I'm going to have to call you a Aquanaut.
Yeah, God, that was so my webcam picked up the audio one time and I didn't switch it over to the Yeti, so it sounded really
and it was
weird.
It was like 2 weeks in a row, and I was beside myself. I was like, okay, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing wrong, but it sounds like you're talking into a tin can 50 miles below the ocean. And she's like, oh, I bet you it's my webcam. I'm like, oh, that would make sense. I thought it was something I was doing, but
Hey, Bibble. Hey, Wicked and Nimbus.
Hey guys.
And
yeah,
Gorath.
That happened to me with the webcam switching over to take the audio.
Mm-hmm.
On the only clip I ever got on stream of going undefeated in comp. It was so bad. I wanted to save the clip, but all the audio is going through my webcam.
It's like, oh, dude. No.
Short people. Oh yeah, you're like 6'4" though, Doom. Everybody's short to you.
Yeah, you're like a whole foot taller than me.
Okay, so did I tell you how I met Doom?
Mm-mm.
It was amazing.
We're at Guardian Con last year. We're sitting at the what was it? The Guardian Radio booth.
Guardian Radio booth.
And we were just kind of hanging out, chatting and everything. And Doom's sitting back there, and he has 2 hot dogs in his hands. And he's just kind of sitting there patiently waiting for somebody to acknowledge him. And the reason why is because after we started this top 3, one of the very first things we did was top 3 sandwiches.
It might have gotten heated.
No.
It might have gotten heated.
Because I think it was me that said that one of my top 3 sandwiches was a hot dog.
I don't even know if any of us said it was a sandwich. Like it was, but it came up. It came up. I don't think any of us actually had hot dog in there. It just came up as a potential, and Justin was very opinionated about the fact that hot dogs were not sandwiches.
Bought him a hot dog, and he handed Justin one and said, "Here's a sandwich for you. I bought you a sandwich." And like they both started eating it together. We got pictures of it. It's great. Oh my god, I never cried. Just laughing so hard at Guardian Con. It was such a great
Black
moment.
Flag, yeah. Because Black Flag, I think you had just said it, right? I don't think anyone had actually got hot dog on their list. It was just by that definition, technically a hot dog, because I think the definition was like two pieces of bread and a piece of meat or something. And they're like, so a hot dog is technically a sandwich. And Justin is like, no! It's like,
Wait, whoa! Supposed to start on
whoa! No. I'll count it down.
Okay.
You ready, Blue?
Yeah.
All right. 3, 2, 1, click. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that was one of the best moments last year at Guardian
Hold up, though. Hold up. So you say a sandwich is 2 pieces of bread with something in between, right?
Technically, well,
a bun is 1 piece of bread.
Oh my god, are we seriously going to have this argument? Oh
we
god.
We can have it again.
So technically
hoagies too.
Yeah, you can also have, well, I mean, and also if you've ever eaten a good hot dog, which is it's kind of an oxymoron, but like you can technically break the bun in 2. And it was like,
Right.
that
Well,
was like, I mean, like,
rip a piece of bread in 2. Like, the actual bread has to be 2 pieces that you pull apart, and they're already separated. They're already sliced. Now, a hot dog bun is sliced, but the way through, so it's still.
What about a sub sandwich then? What about a sub sandwich?
What
like
I'm
Subway?
hearing is Doom is going to bring Cole a hot dog.
If Doom brings me a hot dog, I will eat it because I love hot dogs.
Like, it's like, that's what Justin's like, I love hot dogs. I don't know what you're doing, but I'm not going to call it a sandwich.
The hot dog has to have mayo, not ketchup or mustard.
Oh, really? I'm a relish and mustard girl when it comes to hot dogs.
Whoa. What the what?
Yes.
Which one are you upset about? Hers or mine?
I mean, there's a whole lot of stuff to unpack with those statements.
What? I like mayo on my hot dog.
It's just like ... Everyone's just real quiet, like, I'm not sure how
okay, I'll do one.
I mean, first off,
hold on. Wait, I'll do one better. So a meatball sub, right? Like you would see at Subway or something. I like mayo on that too.
I'm not a meatball sub person, so that doesn't bother me.
Why?
Because it's delicious.
Do you know where to start? Do you understand? There's like,
Thank you, Screwball.
You're all fucking weird. Yeah, blue.exe has stopped working.
Jesus, Doom. Oh my god, Doom is
I also like mayo on fried eggs.
That one I can understand. Like, I don't agree with it, but that one doesn't break my logic center as much as the others do. Mostly it's because, well, so the reason I'm not a huge mayo fan is because I used to work at Subway. And if you've ever loaded mayo into a Subway container, you probably don't like eating mayo either, because it is one of the most fucking disgusting processes ever.
I love mayo, and I know how it's made.
No, oh god. I mean, and fair enough. Like, it depends on how it is made, because there's different types of mayo. Like, there's the olive oil mayo, and you can have different types of stuff.
The subs, pins.
More subs. BLT with a fried egg. Oh yeah.
I'm
BLT in general.
After this.
BLTs are just amazing. Just nummy. Nummy. Okay, we ready for these top 3? I think we should do like a top 3 food one, if I'm gonna be honest, if it's gonna be stories like this, because I feel like we have enough different tastes that it's gonna be entertaining.
Yeah. See, Wicked's right there with me, right? It's like, you're lucky. Yeah.
I mean, fake mayo, real mayo, whatever. I just like the white stuff.
Yeah, we know.
I don't like pie, Bibble.
You don't like pie?
I don't like pie.
What?
Nope.
How? Why?
And now I'm not green.
How do you not like pie?
I like chicken pot pie, and I like.
Ooh, see, I actually don't like chicken pot pie.
I love chicken pot pie, and then chocolate cream pie. I like peanut butter pie is good, but I don't like apple or blueberry or pecan or pumpkin or anything of nature.
Wait. Pecan pie you don't like?
Nope.
How do you live in Texas and not like pecan pie?
Well, that's easy. Like, that's easy. Like, you'd probably be surprised how many Texans actually don't like pecan pie. Like,
that's so.
Oh, peanut butter pie is so good.
I will be on, like, there. It also depends on what, I mean, again, it depends on what type of pecan pie, right? because there's some pecan pies that are
true.
pretty good. But
it's like gelatin in some of them.
Yeah, like the mass-produced cow patty pies they're like, they're pecan pie. No, that's fucking diabetes on a spoon, and it's disgusting. Like, no.
Sugar.
Should we just do like top 3 favorite foods, comfort foods instead? Since we're already on the topic.
We could. Impromptu topic. Blue would, technically they voted for this one. Blue, what do you want to do? I'll leave it to you.
I'd say we do. I don't care.
Top 3.
I'd say, what if we do food next week, or
there's
Hi, Julie.
Hi, Julie. We can do the top 3 story missions. It's fine.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, because technically we didn't do a poll this weekend, so we need to fill in for 1 week.
All right.
After podcasts, so we can do food.
Oh my god! Just as soon as they're done, they start back up again. Everybody in chat. Hi, Julie. Yeah, everyone knows Buddy and Caleb's bark. It's very common.
Actually, Bibble, I don't like peanut butter and jelly sandwiches either.
What?
So.
Okay.
Like peanut a freaking psychopath.
What about peanut butter and honey?
No.
We can't be friends.
Is it a texture thing or is it a taste thing?
It's a history thing.
Okay.
Look, I don't have time. I don't have time. I don't have time to unpack your psychological problems with peanut butter. Okay, I'm just trying to figure out.
Peanut butter pie.
I do like peanut butter pie.
Bibble's like, yep, I'm out. I'm done.
Oh shit.
Oh my god.
Okay. We'll do top 3 Destiny.
Oh
we'll
god,
sprinkle
peanut butter
some
and fluff. Jesus Christ, that's dangerous.
Okay, that I do like.
Key lime pie.
Ew, no, gross.
Yes, 100%. Sour is my jam.
Nope.
All right.
So we're doing food next time after podcast because apparently this is a contentious subject, and I need to know what I'm allowed to eat when I meet you all people because historical, psychological.
Whatever you want.
Just don't shove it in Cole's face. Apparently.
No.
Okay. So.
What are we doing? What is it? Okay, so podcast is
top
next,
3.
and then food. What? Just food? Because that's going to get dangerous.
Comfort food?
Comfort food. Yeah.
Or desserts, or... Okay, comfort food works for me.
I think I broke y'all's chat.
It's fine. They're active. I like it.
The funny thing is the comfort food is going to be on the Mortal Kombat episode.
Oh, geez.
Finish them. Oh, gosh.
Okay.
Ooh, are that cookies? Cookies?
Yeah. Bibble's my new spirit animal. You are no longer my spirit animal, Cole.
Do you really want Bibble as your spirit animal?
Maybe.
That's dangerous.
Maybe. Okay. You ready?
Yeah.
Welcome to FFC Top 3, a show where we, your FFC hosts, count things down from 3 to number 1. Thank you for joining us this week. If you have a suggestion for Top 3, be sure to drop us a note on Twitter, on Twitch if you're here in chat, on Discord, or even in our new style of poll. There's a spot for that. Or just message me, you can hit me up whenever. But this week, we're going to talk about a top 3 favorite Destiny missions. I was about to say food because we were talking about food right before we started recording. And apparently that's going to be something that's coming up again in chat because we have a special guest tonight. We have one of my friends, Isakol, the Wish Dragon herself, and we're going to talk about our top 3 favorite Destiny missions. So,
I like how the whole Wish Dragon thing has permeated to everything.
I don't mind it because I'm the one who gave you that title.
Listen, I'm trying to put together your introduction right now. Okay, so I'm just gonna say, it's gonna be part of it, and there's gonna be other parts of it, and
oh no.
See, Blue gets real creative with most introductions. Beard has been called very, very, very things over the past year and a half. So it's your turn to get some of it. Although he really hasn't changed up what I'm called, which I'm okay. Especially. Anyway,
look, I only have so much free time on my hands.
I know, right? Right? Cole.
Yes.
What is your number 3 top Destiny mission?
It would probably have to be A Stranger's Call, which is down in the Ishtar Library back in D1, where the stranger does the whole ridiculous speech of, I don't have time to explain why I don't have time to explain, but I'm going to stand here for 15 minutes and tell you everything, but not really tell you anything.
So many questions from that mission.
That was the mission that got me interested in lore back in the day.
The only reason I like that one so much is because you do actually go into the Ishtar Collective and you see a whole bunch of infrastructure in the books and everything, which I absolutely love. And just fighting in that library. What I find ridiculous is you're fighting in the library. You're surrounded by Golden Age books. Why is the ammo coming out of my gun not destroying everything?
Space magic.
Right?
Space magic. It's ridiculous.
That was Vex, all the Vex coming at you during that mission.
Yeah. Still, I love it.
Definitely. Blue. Do you have your number 3 now?
Yeah, my number 3. Anyways, my number 3 is Enemy of My Enemy. And
the one on Titan.
Yeah, it's mostly because of the predominant piece of that mission being an actual choice given to us as players. Our choices actually affect the ending of that mission, which I absolutely love. That's the one that we kind of, I want to say that was when we really initially got introduced to Mithrax. Off the top of my head, I want to say that's when we got introduced to his character. But yes. The big thing there was that we actually got to choose whether or not that our guardian basically kills him or lets him survive. And I remember when that first dropped, there was a lot of people who were really excited because, I mean, it opens up quite a bit as far as potential, and it shows that, that's something that Bungie as a developer is going to be, hopefully playing with more and more, especially with now that we're where we are today with 0 hour and all that actually, plays into it. I don't know. I really like those types of missions.
I like that because that actually dovetails directly into my number 3. Because my number 3 is 0 hour. I actually really like, and even if I don't complete it, I like going in there solo and just running the jumping puzzle and whatnot and testing myself that way. Because Cole and I ran it a lot together to get Outbreak Prime, or Outbreak Perfected, excuse me. And it's a fun mission to go through, and you get to see Mithrax and work with him to kill one thrall, and then you do all the rest of the work, and then he shows up at the end with his ship. But it's an enemy race that you get to actually work with, which is kind of cool. Which is why 0 hours my number 3. Cole, we're up to number 2.
Number 2 would probably have to be Chosen, where you run through the city and it's all destroyed and everything. You're going to kill Gaul at the end. For 2 reasons, I really like that one. One is you're actually down in the city, because I would love to do that as my guardian and hear the civilians with their barks or their lines of, oh my gosh, it's a guardian, that sort of thing. I'd love to hear how the civilians react. But just seeing how they live, the architecture and everything, and the actual rebuilding of society is really pretty. because there's a lot of white alabaster structures, surprisingly, in the city, which I still think it's really pretty. But the second reason is actually because of you, Green.
Oh,
when we were running story missions and like we were completely overpowered, and we were taking down Gaul, where we broke him so bad that he T-posed.
Yeah.
He utterly T-posed, and we couldn't complete the mission because he just was stuck there until like the final bits of his lines were done, and then he fell over dead.
Listen, you have to let him talk. We did that. We did that with the arms dealer strike. We killed him before he could go up the elevator, and the game was like, I don't know what to do.
God, it was Blade Barrage. I think
we
tethered
both,
in Blade. Did we both Blade Barrage him? Did you tether
both Blade Barraged?
That was so bad.
Yeah. No, I
at level 700.
Yeah, that's
for the nerfs.
Oh my god.
It's just like Gaul's just like pin cushions. Just he was a voodoo doll at that point. It was a lot of fun. That was a good time. Blue, number 2 for you.
Bottle the Ark. It's
which one?
Bottle the Ark. It's the
what is that?
The Stormcaller subquest.
Oh, back to D1.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
It was one of the ones that it actually did a really. It was one that I had multiple conversations, I think, with Bife about, and he actually convinced me to go get my Warlock up. I grinded a new Warlock out just to play that one subclass, or that one subclass mission, and it was totally worth it. In my mind, I think that was one of those subclasses. I never really got into the Sunbreaker, but my understanding is for those who did, Sunbreaker was right up there with it as far as like the feeling. I didn't really connect with that particular one, but for whatever reason, Bottle the Ark just to me really did embody the concept that they kind of seem to be going for with the Warlocks. It was just really cool how they orchestrated the different pieces of that particular quest, really. But yeah, and then the very end when you actually get like the unlimited power, because whenever you get the new super abilities, they give you like that trial period. It's like, hey, here's a new car, go drive it around for 5 minutes, and you don't have to pay for gas. Yeah, that's pretty much what happened there, and that was actually a lot of fun.
I liked like all those missions, like Spark did that, and although I like the lore.
He yelled at you until I submit. That's accurate.
Yeah, he did. I'm Bife. My number 2 is a major throwback to the very beginning of D1. And it is the Dark Beyond mission, where we go to the moon and the Hive come out, and you get that iconic line from Dinklebot. You've awoken a Hive, or we've awoken the Hive. I played that mission I don't know how many times back in D1. And it's not like the mission was super special in any way, shape, or form. There was no like major story things. It was more nostalgic.
I can see that.
Yeah, because also it was a great farming mission to get all the Thrall.
Yeah.
But yeah, that one is definitely one of my favorites. The one that I probably have put more hours in than is reasonable. But that brings us to number 1 and the conclusions of our list. Cole.
See, now I'm in a quandary because Blue reminded me of the new subclass missions. Because when we first saw the TTK trailer, I legit cried.
Right.
Because there was a void bow I could now have as a hunter, and it is by far my favorite subclass, so that whole mission was really awesome to me.
I don't know though. Can you beat the Russian servitor doll?
Russian servitor doll?
Oh my god, do you not remember?
So the servitor,
it's like you kill it and 5 pop out, and then it's like you kill one of them and it's like, here's more and more and more. I'm like, oh god, when is it gonna stop?
So Blue, Black Armory in Bergusia, there's smaller versions of that.
Yeah. I mean,
Haven't I gotten
Clue,
that
I do
one?
have to say,
I don't know if I
Crucible
got
Radio, when I was doing scrims with them in Crucible private matches, they actually did compliment me on my Night Stalker ability.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Tether all things.
But no, my favorite top mission would probably have to be Utopia, which is where you go into the arcology on Titan, and you're retrieving the computer chip so you can do the whole little processing thing and everything. But going down in there, just going through the arcology first, you see how they actually lived on Titan. It was very beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of fantastic structures, and everything's still glowing and bright and vivid. And you have your little Roomba bots going around still, which I think is adorable. But like you just keep going through, and like the pathways get smaller and smaller and smaller. When you're going through the air ducts, if you look around, there's actually skeletons in piles. Like somebody or a group of people got caught and just were slaughtered right then and there. And then you go down even further, and you see like the back end with the like actual infrastructure underneath this society. And then when you plop down and you get the little chip in the sphere, there's that worm going across.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just absolutely crazy to me. And you pick it up and you run, but
also you guys you know that Ghost has like one of the best lines during that mission.
Which one?
When he's confused about what a pineapple is.
Oh, pineapple?
He's like, what the hell? What type of people
would they do that for?
Pineapple.
It's the best.
What was the other one?
I can't remember.
Kiwi or like a cucumber kiwi?
Yeah, it was something. It was like, oh, blah, 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 blah. And what's it like? He rambles them off, and it's like the weird one, the actual weird one. He's like, oh yeah, that's fine, that's perfectly normal. And then he gets the pineapple. He's like, pine apple? Like what? Like
why would they combine such a thing?
Breaks him. It's so amazing.
It's such a mess.
I love it. But yeah, that's probably my top one, is just because I love Titan. I love rain in the ocean, even though I can't swim for anything. But Titan is probably my favorite destination out of any of them, out of any game, just because that's probably where I'd be living if we were back in the Golden Age.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Why?
I would definitely live there. Well, for one, science. 2, it's pretty. 3, science. And 4, science. And 5, it's always raining.
It's always raining. It's raining methane.
Rain.
Frozen.
I don't care.
Okay.
It's still rain. Plus the park in the middle of it with the dome is really pretty.
Yeah, that is kind of pretty. I will give you that. Blue. God. What's your number one?
Science!
Yes. Science.
Ranger Found. So it's the subclass for the Night Stalker from TTK. It was one of my favorite missions because you actually kind of get a glimpse into. It was one of the first times that I remember really getting a glimpse into like the everyday components of what it is to be Guardians, because they introduced Tevis kind of more formally, and his entire like role within the Vanguard as a mentor, as a pseudo mentor, basically, with the hunters and all that. And then you actually like it is just really cool because you actually get Tevis's bow. It's not like, you know, it's not. It actually gives you, for as a Night Stalker. It's one of the few times. Actually, I think it's the only subclass that we actually. It's not our like catalyst. The catalyst to teach us how to use the Night Stalker bow is actually Tevis's like manifestation of it, and I thought that was really, really cool. You know, just because it just kind of reconnected you from a kind of the behind the scenes. If you actually sat down and, you know, kind of peeled back the appearance of it just a little bit, it made it really a little bit more weight to it in my mind.
I can see that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just the subclass missions are just so nice in general.
Yeah, and I have a good memory of those just again because it was like, again, it was one of those things where it was the first time that I feel like they actually really pushed, not necessarily choices, though it did kind of feel like a choice, like in order to unlock the ability, you kind of had to do it. But at the same time, it felt like, they're like, no, here's the reason why this new ability is being unlocked. Like, this is a kind of an explanation in game as to, oh no, this isn't just, the arbitrary, oh hey, I got X amount of XP points and I'm going to tick off this new skill point.
Right.
It actually was like, I attribute it to like the D&D process of learning a new skill set in D&D or in any RPG is like the training period. Like depending on how you play the game, within RPGs or tabletops, usually when you learn a new skill or learn a new feat or something like that, you're supposed to give your character some time during a rest period to actually train with it. And to me, that was kind of like an actual realization of that component within Destiny. And I thought that was really cool that it wasn't just unlocking a node on an arbitrary skill tree. We actually had to go out and, explore in so much as we explored the world at that point, and actually toggle that and unlock that ability within our own character. I thought that was a really, really good step in the actual. It was one of the things that actually kept me interested in Destiny for a while, was because of that kind of thing. Because I was hoping with that we would see more of those choices, and we have seen more of those choices. But up until that point, it's hard for me to play RPGs, or even though Destiny's not really an RPG, but RPG lights. And that's kind of the reason why, is because it starts getting really hard to connect with just arbitrarily unlocking skill nodes.
Right.
It's like, unless I'm actually, I prefer to have games that, like Fallout, or actually any Bethesda titles. Bethesda does a really good job, and this is one of the reasons I really like Bethesda titles, is they reward you by leveling up the skill sets that you actually use. So like the way you advance is by actually doing things. It's not just, I killed X amount of enemies and now I'm a master lockpick. It's, no, you have to go out and you have to actually steal stuff. Like you have to successfully sneak around. And as you get more if you do more challenging things, you obviously get faster progress. And that's kind of where, with the subclasses in Destiny with the Taken King, that's kind of what it started feeling like. And I was like, oh yes, that's going to be, if we can get this in this game, this would totally make, again, because I play a lot of it solo, it would make it a lot more easy for me to connect to the character. And it did. Also, as the chat points out, there are no bears in Destiny, so
that is also true. Or trolls, or ice trolls,
or the new Tomb Raider, it's jaguars, because F those things. There are none of those either in Destiny.
Right.
Oh goodness.
So, falls onto me for the flair for dramatic, which is why my number one is the number one it is. It is Regicide, back from TTK, because I love the scene where you walk in to Oryx's throne room before we kill him in the raid, and all that darkness seeps into him. I know they said it was like inspired from Spawn and inspired from Opera and
The Cell.
The Cell, not Spawn. Thank you.
Yeah, it was. Oh my god, it's one of the best cutscenes, I think, from that.
It's
from
such
that
a
thing.
gorgeous mission. Yeah, and I love drama. I don't like being a part of drama, but I love dramatic moments, and I love seeing dramatic moments and reading dramatic moments, and that definitely was an entry. For all the things that Oryx lacks, he had style, man. He really did. He really did, but
he also had control of the real world, because he could break the fourth wall and glitch everybody while we were trying to kill him.
That's true. That is also true. But that actually concludes our list this week. Next week, Blue. Would you like to tell the folks at home, because I forgot already what we're doing next week, even though we discussed it right before we started this episode?
Next week we're going to do podcast, which is actually going to be a hard one for me.
Really?
Yeah, I don't listen to podcasts.
I
just host one.
Right. I don't need to listen to my host.
It's not even that. It's just literally I'm like I can't get people to talk fast enough for me to That's not anything against anybody. Same reason I don't listen to audiobooks. I'm like, no. This is the most inefficient use of my time.
You put it up at 1.5 and just have fun with it.
No, well, with audiobooks I have to put it at like 2. And
really?
it gets really interesting. I'm just gonna say that if you put an audiobook at like 2 times the speed, I'm like, dude, that person does not have that high of a voice, but it's really funny.
I wouldn't stop giggling if I put everybody.
No, that's the problem. Then I get distracted because I'm like, oh, that person just died. I'm like, this is terrible. I'm missing the entire point of this book.
Oh my gosh.
Oh man. I mean, I guess it is top 3 podcasts. We could do top 3 audiobooks at some point too. That might not be a bad one because there's some voice actors that I really like that do some really great audiobook work too.
That's true.
But that actually concludes our top 3 this week. Thank you for joining us, and remember, everybody loves a list. And cut. And Penn's added 50 Shades of Grey to the list. Oh my god,
that would be fucking hilarious. 50 Shades of Grey at 2 times.
I've never read the book. Don't care to read the book. Don't care to watch the movie.
No, I don't. I don't even give a shit about No, that's not what I'd find entertainment out of. I'm gonna go find. I'm just gonna go find. Well, I could make fun of it, just normal. But I'm gonna go find. What is it? Who's the Game of Thrones dude?
George R. Martin.
That guy. Go listen to the first book of that on like 2 times speed.
Oh no.
I mean, if I'm gonna waste my time listening to it,
waste your time. Oh gosh.
Game of Thrones?
Yeah,
it's not that.
I hated that book.
It's hard to get through. It's a hard read.
That was one of the books. Like, I have a thing where if I start a book, I really, really try to finish it. Like, I don't like leaving books unfinished. There's a very limited number of books that I haven't finished. And that was one of the ones that I was like, I hate myself for starting this book. Like, I was so annoyed with that book. And that was like, before I even got like halfway through, I was like, this is so bad. Like, I mean, I'm not gonna judge. If you like it, that's cool. It's well written. Like, he is a good author. Like, I get that. I'm not saying that he's not. It's just that particular storytelling style. I'm like, ugh.
That's like me in movies. Like, if I start a movie, no matter how bad it is, I'll sit through it unless it's really, really bad, and then I turn it off. Yeah. I think I've only turned off like 4 movies in my life.
I'm trying to think. I think I'm probably in that number as well. And now I give myself a grace period of like 5 minutes though. Like, if I start a movie and like 5 minutes in, it's absolute shit, I'm like, yep, nope, ripcord. Like, that I don't consider myself having started the movie, because I'm still in the lemon law period of I can return that without negative ramifications.
I think I have like a 15-20 minute period for movies. For games, I only have 5 minutes.
Yeah,
I don't like it for 5 minutes.
I don't know if
I'm done.
Yeah, I don't know if I told you, Grid, but I tried Monster Hunter World, got in. I'm like, nope. Like I started playing, I was just like, "This is nope." So I gave it like 20-minute. I gave it 20 minutes, and in the process of giving it 20 minutes, I never once got to actually play. It was all tutorial. It was like, this is how you do this, but it won't let you do it. I'm like, okay. And like right before I got annoyed with it, it was like, all right, now you can walk around the map. I'm like, oh, but you can't walk around the map. You have to walk to this point. I'm like, yeah, no, get off my computer, get off my hard drive. Like this is no.
Well, it's like I was trying to play Dauntless last time. Now, granted, I played the demo of it 2 years ago at PAX South, and I loved it. Like the devs were great, the team was great. Played the demo, it was a lot of fun, a lot of really challenging. But we played on PC.
Oh,
and then it and then it launched, on PS4 and everything, and cross-platform, whatever. And I downloaded it because I was really excited to play. It's like, okay, sweet, I finally get to play it after 2 years. I go in. And R2 is run, and then the heavy melee is triangle, and the main attack is square.
Wait, R2 is
run.
No, because that's on PlayStation, right?
Yeah, which is the right trigger for Xbox.
What?
It makes no sense whatsoever. You can't remap. You can't remap at all, and there's no other option or layout.
That should be shoot the things.
But see, you have a sword, so it would actually be melee. But that's not how it works.
Right. But I mean, like, it's still, that's like, in my brain, the right trigger is always primary attack.
Mm-hmm. But not
run is always like either, I mean, like, run is predominantly, and this is Halo brain for me, is predominantly right trigger stick.
Yep.
Or not trigger stick, sorry, thumbstick. That's weird. Oh God, my brain hurts trying to figure that one out.
I didn't even kill the first monster that you come encounter with. I just looked at it, hit a couple times, said nope. Backed out and deleted it right off the PlayStation. This is not what I played. This is not what I played at all.
Yeah, I'll be honest though, the whole thing with Monster Hunter, if you like that type of game, that I get why you would like it. Though I understand that there are some qualms that people have with World, I guess. But like the whole thing with the nice thing that I liked about it was that's why I actually have the Game Pass. So I got to try, I got to play the full game, and I didn't have to actually go out and buy it. So I'm like, I don't have any regrets on uninstalling this because I didn't actually buy it.
Yeah, that's how I feel about was it Ghost Recon's Wildlands?
Mm-hmm.
I played it for a solid month, 2 months. Oh no, wait, Division. The original the Division. I bought the Legendary Edition. I thought it was gonna be great. Beta was great, and then I stopped playing after 3 weeks.
Was it?
I had fun in the beta.
I know that you could really destroy the fire hydrants, or the fire extinguishers, and the Santa dolls. But that was probably the only thing that I played
I'll be right back.
The beta for Division on stream, and it was like I'm too ADD. When I found out that I could actually blow up parts of the environment, and I was like, oh my God, this is so much more fun than actually shooting the people in the magical.
Well, you went to the mall, right?
The magic, yeah. Then the magical bulletproof hoodies that makes no sense. It's like, hey, you're wearing a sweater. I'm going to shoot you in the face. And you didn't die. Okay, I'm going to shoot you in the face again. You're still alive.
Nope. In the mall, the giant Christmas ornaments hanging from
the
ceiling. Yeah, you can shoot those out. That was great.
Because I think, and then I started hunting down the pop out Santas or it's like there's another one. That was when I was on a call with Justin and Bife, and they're arguing about politics in Europe and all this stuff, and I'm like, kill the Santas, and they're like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm playing Division, and they're like, You're playing it wrong. You're not. What are you doing?
Yeah, my friends didn't like playing with me because, like, you know, they see the dogs running around. I always shot the dogs.
Oh.
What?
I always shot the dogs.
Why?
Because there's a thing called the dollar flu going around, which is why the whole disaster happened in the first place. And all animals are just carriers. So I'd shoot all the dogs and the birds and everything.
That trailer was one of the hardest ones to watch, actually. Because that trailer, they dropped the Division trailer pretty shortly after my son was born. And that was the entire point in that trailer was the little kid getting sick.
Yeah.
And like the dad is the one that is, I think the dad is the primary, or it's the primary standpoint or the viewpoint is from the parent, one of the parents. Oh my God. I was like, I couldn't even get through that trailer because I was like, nope, don't want to think about that. Don't want to think about that at all.
Yeah, that's how I felt about the opening of Mass Effect 3 when the kid finally gets on the shuttle to get out of there because the Reapers are attacking Earth.
Mm-hmm.
And he gets shot out of the sky.
Oh.
Just like, even just thinking about it, I'm already tearing up because it's so hard-hitting.
There was another one that I was The Last of Us. I watched because I don't have
heart-wrenching one.
Well, because the beginning where spoilers for anyone who hasn't watched the game that came out
like
years
6 or 7. It's like
I know. I feel like I'm safe behind. I'm okay in spoiler territory on this one, but like when when the main character's daughter gets shot, and it's like I'm like no, like it explains so much.
There was another game that kind of did that to me, and less so than Last of Us, but Beyond Two Souls was the game that initially got me to buy a PlayStation.
Oh yeah, I'll have to watch. I have a tendency of like, so I don't have a PlayStation.
Watching the video.
So I will watch I love YouTube because they have a lot of those. Here's this game movies, yeah. And I'm like, all right, I don't have time to play the game, or I don't have X console, but I have 3 hours to watch, the cutscenes, and they're usually done pretty well.
Yeah, it's another Ellen Page one, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. I think even though wasn't that one of the huge arguments was that wasn't supposed to, or it wasn't, but then they there was a lawsuit involved.
Last of Us was the one that was the lawsuit.
Yeah. Oh no, there was a lawsuit with Beyond Two Souls as well.
Was there? I didn't realize that one.
It's not appropriate for this podcast, but I'll explain it to you later.
Sounds good. But
this is
actually,
intriguing.
Speaking of the podcast,
I want to know After Dark. Oh God, that was a bad call.
After Dark with Cole is going to be a lot.
Oh God, I just shot a rocket launcher, and that did not go as far as I thought it was gonna go. That hurt a lot. Pulled a Fraggle.
You're not in Crucible, are you? Are you in with Fraggle? What are you running with Fraggle?
No, I said I pulled a Fraggle.
Oh.
Shot myself with a rocket launcher.
Doom, that was the whole point. The kid is actually a projection to your mind by the Reapers to overtake your brain, but it didn't work. Trust me, I know. I played through the Mass Effect 1 through 3 56 times.
Jesus.
But did you make different choices?
Yes.
You're so special. That was one of the big. I think it was today.
Have we done a Mass Effect Extra Lore?
Yeah, we've done 2.
Oh, I don't remember. I didn't play that game.
You're not missing much.
We should start the real show.
Yeah, we should.
Hang on.
Benny's.
Yay.
As long as Blue's not running 0 Hour or frickin' Thorn Quest or
0 Hour was painful.
I love 0 Hour.
0 Hour is a ton of fun.
Remember Green when we first went in there and I started crying?
Mm-hmm. Going back into the tower.
Yeah. I was not prepared for that. My heart. I'm tearing up right now. Good Lord, I'm such an emotional bee today. Good Lord.
Makes for good content.
Yes, it does. Anyway.
Although this is going to be the least emotionally tied topic I think we've done in a while.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, where did my notes go? There they are.
That's why I have physical notes.
Yeah, Doom. That's what.
Paper.
Sorry, that's what brought it to mind. Was there was someone who was like, I feel personally attacked because they were like, I'm going to play Mass Effect again, but I'm going to make, it was the Darth Maul meme.
Yeah.
He was like, I'm going to play all through Mass Effect again, making the same choices I made the first time. And I was like, I don't need to be attacked.
The only thing I never did, though, the only thing I never did in Mass Effect in all my playthroughs was romance anyone.
Really? You didn't do that?
Nope. I didn't romance a single person in Mass Effect.
I heard that was like the big thing that everybody did.
The person I wanted to romance wasn't an option. He wasn't an option at all.
Interesting.
You can't romance yourself.
No, I couldn't romance Joker. I
don't know who that is.
He's the pilot. He's the one with the brittle bone syndrome, yeah. Plus he ends up with a robot anyways. Jerk.
Jealous.
Yeah. Whatever.
All right.
Oh my goodness.
Are you guys good to go?
Yeah. Let's do it. Oh, no community question this week because how the fuck am I going to ask about Truth to Power without causing a shitstorm?
Yeah. Well, that second part's yes. All right. Welcome back for episode 169 of Focus Fire Chat, recorded live on May 24th over on twitch.tv/FocusFireChat. As always, want to give a big shout out to our live chat here with us tonight. Thank you so much for joining us once again. Our topic for tonight's episode is going to be a look at the lore book Truth to Power. It is going to be a high-level look, and it will be a summary look. We're going to try not to get into too many of the tangents. Another little side note, yes, this is episode 169, even though we don't have an episode 168, because I am trying to keep track of the actual chats. Excuse me. So 168 was the Daily Lives of Guardians. We didn't get a chance to do a recap episode of that one. But yes, so I know some of you guys don't like it when I skip numbers on the podcast feed. Sorry. But as always, let's run through a quick introduction of those on the show for tonight. As always, this is your host, Blue Crew 86. Next up, we have our own master social media, the one and only Green Eyed Music Lover, who has personally asked me to revamp her introduction. So I will be doing that hopefully this next week. Green, I hope you're doing well. How's the week treated you so far?
Hey, it's not been too bad, thanks to the thing that you just discovered tonight about how if you play some comp matches during the week, and even if you don't touch it again, once reset happens, they give you extra points. Well, because of that little mechanic, I have Recluse, and I will have Luna's Howl shortly. So, I'm doing pretty good as far as game goes, yeah.
Is that a new thing? Because I was really surprised when I logged in.
I think it's been around for at least 2 seasons. Okay. At least this season it's been around, but I want to say it's been around 2 seasons.
Okay. All right. It shows you how much I play Crucible. And finally, once again, we have in the hot seat as guest co-host, we have our good friend, the Wish Dragon, who always keeps us on our toes. Issa Cole. Cole, how are you doing?
I am exhausted. Not gonna lie. I am utterly exhausted between working a full-time job and getting the merchandise ready for the printers for Guardian Con, which I have less than a week to get to them and get it shipped to me. I'm tired. I want to sleep. I want pancakes.
You should go get pancakes after the show.
We're definitely gonna get pancakes if we get done in time.
Nice.
Challenge accepted.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I'm good. Just exhausted. I want to sleep.
Blue.
Yeah, hang on real quick. Okay, here. Well, the reason I was kind of putting together, I've been trying. So this is going to be kind of it's not an awkward thing, but it's just kind of an odd thing for me. Or not, that's just the wrong word. I had just wanted to make a comment about something that had happened this past week that I know a lot of people in our circle of the community part of Destiny have kind of experienced. And, I saw Mr. Happy Sad over in Beard's channel kind of made a comment about this too. You will notice that Beard is not on this particular episode. We're not. I'm not. I'm just going to be honest. I'm not sure if he's going to be back. So I wanted to try to put into words and explain the situation a little bit better for anybody who was curious about that. Beard kind of is. He's in a negative space right now. He's had a lot of things going on, and he made the choice for himself to step away from pretty much all social media, including, my understanding was, including content creation as a whole for the most part. You will probably have already found that. He did a YouTube video about this particular thing. We don't know what's going on really. This was kind of as some of you who have reached out. I know a number of you guys have reached out to me. I know a number of you have reached out to Green. Again, blunt honesty. It surprised us as much as I think it surprised you guys. I didn't realize that it had gotten to the point that it had gotten to. I completely want to make sure that it is understood that we support Beard in whatever he chooses to do. This was not a decision that we pressured him into. Made it
lightly.
No, I know, and I don't think he did either. But I also want to make it clear that we didn't it wasn't something that we were moved him off.
No,
this was a decision. This was the decision that Beard made 100%. On his own, and I just wanted to kind of clear the air and kind of explain that situation a little bit better, because I know that it has left a couple people confused. I think there's a lot going on with him, and I really encourage. I'll link the YouTube video to that in our show notes. But I really encourage you, if you really have questions, to watch that. He does an excellent job in kind of explaining a good general summary of why. It was not because of any one thing. I know he was getting fed up with the toxicity that has been recently going around in the community, and not just our community. It's the anime community, the other games that he plays. Those communities are kind of struggling too. And that kind of coalesced with a lot of personal things that are going on with him. There's just a number of things, as with everyone, there's a lot of things going on under the surface that we might not necessarily know about. And that's the situation. So I just wanted to kind of open that discourse up. If you do have questions, concerns, feel free to DM me on Discord, DM Green on Discord. We're more than happy to chat with you. I know that a number of you have also sent messages of solidarity to Beard, and I haven't gotten a chance to get those to him because I don't really have a way to communicate with him. But I have been trying to get them to him, and I appreciate. I know that when I do get those to him, I know that he will appreciate that. So thank you for those of you who have reached out. Green, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to surprise you with that.
No.
Did you want to say anything?
No, it's just I'm in the same spot you are. It's like I want Beard to find a happy space, find a happy place for him. And so whatever needs to happen to make that happen, I hope he can find that. And as far as people wanting to talk about it or needing to get a little bit more information or try to figure things out, my DMs are open, have been this entire time. I know a few of you have DM'd me directly pretty much the day it happened. That's perfectly fine. The big thing is remember that he needs space right now. He did mention something about possibly returning to at least a portion of what he was working on before, but we don't know exactly when that's going to happen or if that's going to happen. So be very respectful, show your love and support, but try not to be overly, I don't know, I want to say smothering, but that's a bad word for it. Just be respectful of the distance that he's asking for currently, I think is the biggest thing.
Yeah. So yeah, but I would, like I said, I wanted to take just a little bit of time and kind of explain that particular event, those events. And I'm going to get us back on track for what you guys all came for us tonight, and that will be Truth to Power. Green chose not to ask a question because we don't want to. I don't know how we would ask a question, to be honest. It's
a contentious book. This book has actually caused more people pain than I think a lot of the lore that's come up. So I don't mind not asking the community a question on it because I feel like it would have been maybe contributing to some salt.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good, yeah. So that being said, we're going to just jump right into it after our standard intro notes. So this week, I mean, in the same way that Green was having kind of a confusion, I don't really have I don't know. I'm going to just call it. I don't have a Lost Lore section. I had a lot of ideas about Lost Lore, like what we could do. But I think honestly, the best way is going to be just to jump into Truth to Power, because I think we're going to need as much time as we can get to kind of do do justice to it. I'll be honest. I actually, the more I got into it, the more I read it back to back, and I've read this book now, I don't know, probably close to 50 times, at least. The more I read it, and the more I kind of opened up the different nuances of different things, even the parts that who are probably Easter eggs, if you will. I actually really appreciate this book. I really like it. But it was a book that I had to read multiple times before I got to that point. I totally understand if you've only gone through a cursory glance of the book, or even just a few pieces of it. Totally get the frustration that is behind it.
Oh my, yeah.
It is an enigma, I believe, is what Cole, I think, is what you referred to it as.
Yeah.
Oh man. So basically, a good quote here for this one is from the earlier pages. It says, "I can only slip these letters into the Queen's gifts when the stars are right. You will have to wait for my next, and with it the beginning of the truth. But I swear to you, on whatever trust I've earned in your mind, that at the end of my story, you will know who I truly am." And I think that, there's a conversation that we could have, and I'm going to try to not have it because I don't really want to have it, about the reasoning from a mechanic standpoint as to why we only get one page every 3 weeks. There's a lot of people who have opinions on that, and if you want that opinion, I would go find those. From a story perspective, this is why we can only get a page every 3 weeks, is because the manner of delivery is embedded in the same, in the same concept as what we were getting with Stolen Intelligence. These are coded into particular gifts to our guardian. And those gifts are only given to us every 3 weeks. So from a lore standpoint, that's where the explanation for why you can only get Truth to Power from the particular source, that's why that is. We received this series of entries from an entity who actually initially claims to be Eris Morn, but then proceeds to spin a web of half-truths and even forthright lies and the revelation of information that is claimed to be concerned about the underlying truth of the events taking place within the Dreaming City. So this is going to be very connected to the Dreaming City, the curse of the Dreaming City. Connected to the 3-week time loop that we as players and guardians experience while interacting with the secretive location of the Awoken of the Reef, the entries do seem to, in some small way, hold truths concealed within the fabrications. The challenge is, of course, that we are going to get into is which ones are which. What is the truth? What is a lie? What's actually fact? What's actually not? Like there's a lot of that still out there. Even with the revelation from secret or stolen intelligence, that doesn't necessarily negate the entire entry, which I think is important too. And ultimately, this question is also addressed by the figures within the entry, revealing the conceptual source of another of the Hive siblings' powers. This is the idea of Imbaru, the supposed source of Savathun's power, which goes a long way in both explaining the in-game events as well as a nice nod by the writers towards the habitual obsessing over the information we're given as players in the lore community. And so a huge early shout out to Seth and Mallozy for this book. Like this book is...
This book makes my head hurt.
It does, but it's I appreciate it. Like like I said, I really encourage people to go through it with a fine-tooth comb and just take it as it's presented. Like don't try to connect it like the first couple times. If you just set aside, like don't go into it being like this book is, bad or, whatever. Just read it. Just go onto Ishtar and read through it. It's going to be confusing. I get that. But just read through it a couple times and then just kind of just read it and kind of feel what's actually going on in each of the entries. I don't know. Like as I did that more and more, I actually really started appreciating some of the minor nuances that was going on in it. But Green, I didn't know before we kind of dived in to the first book or the first entry, was there anything I missed that you wanted to...
When you go into this book is, if you're doing the cursory read, just don't approach the book with a fine-tooth comb the first time you read through it. This is just like my pre-warning. Don't try to pick it apart the first time through because you're going to be utterly frustrated because of the way that this book is put together. Because each card successively does not build necessarily upon the prior card. So it's very frustrating if you're trying to read one card, dissect that card, read the next card, dissect that card. Read through the whole thing, then go back through and try again. That is my personal opinion on that one for sure. Beyond that, I think we should start with, is it you?
Yes, and really quick, Cole, have you had a chance to read any of Truth to Power?
So I actually read it through today, start to finish, for the first time ever, and I have notes.
Yes,
we chatted about it.
Do you have questions?
I will here and there, but
you're like, I'm just freaking confused in general.
Well, no, actually, I'm not confused. I actually have a very solid theory on the whole thing, which is going to be far different from what both of you have.
Mm-hmm.
Because
she kind of. We'll go there. We'll get there. Let's go. Charge.
So yeah, let's do this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Is It You is the introduction. It's basically, it seems to be an introduction from Eris. And that's kind of the question that I think is, I kind of want to say it's the red herring of the whole thing is like everyone's kind of getting focused on this idea of like, oh, it's Eris. No, it's not Eris. It's Eris. No, it's in this debate.
Well, I mean,
I see why it is, but
right. I mean, let's dive into like what the card entails itself. It has, not only does it have the claim of it being Eris, which you find out you can kind of find out at the beginning because of the reference to the queen and everything, but there's a story that she starts to tell towards the end about Arisa, Russian name, because I can't remember it off the top of my head. But the other thing that you find in this card in particular is you start to see the peeking through of what appears to be a code.
Right.
Which becomes important in the second card. The other thing is that line I think you mentioned at the very beginning where I can only slip these letters into the Queen's gifts when the time is right, or when the stars are right. I mean, that seems fairly significant, the fact that that can only get to us through Mara's throne world every 3 weeks.
Yes. Yeah, and I think this is the one that a lot of people get snagged up on with regards to in connection to stolen intelligence, which is where we find out that
Eris says she's not the writer.
Well, Eris says that she's not the writer, and Finchurch mentions that they have quote-unquote pictures of Eris from when she was a child in the last city. So we kind of have a disconnect going on here about, okay, so that part is not true, which if you read this particular thing, the notes that I kind of have called out here is we have, presented with the story of the Irisia, which is a really interesting kind of odd or kind of nod to what's going on in the 22nd century. I don't know. It's hard to kind of put a lot of validity to that particular claim, given what we have in stolen intelligence from Finchurch. But the other thing that I kind of peaked or perked up on was the idea that she refers to ex-guardians who have escaped the traveler's occlusion often remember their first life clearly. My initial question was, okay, what situations do we have as guardians? What do we have to kind of back that claim up? I mean, we only have a very limited number of guardians that we're aware of in game that have, quote, escaped the traveler's occlusion, which seems to be have their ghost killed. Those two would be Shin and Toland.
Mm-hmm.
And Shin is a terrible example for this particular front because Shin didn't really have a first life. Because with the Confession of Hope, we know that Shin was converted to a guardian pretty early on when he was pretty much a toddler. So his memory of his life is intact simply because his life was his second life. He never had a first life. Toland, well, it's Toland. We don't. It's I don't know a better defense. And to kind of unpack that a little bit, we're just not really sure. He has yet to mention any memories from his first life, but given his obsession with how he is kind of an ethereal figure within the Ascendant Realm, it's also really not clear if he even cares about, if he has memories of his first life, it strikes me as he's probably doesn't even care about it. That's not, so he has not made any comments about that. So that claim is hard to validate with the information that we have right now, because simply there is not enough information to hold it up against. Now, given with the stolen intelligence kind of taking a step back, given the stolen intelligence piece, and then also given what happens in Will You Smile, which is the next one, it kind of begs the question of, okay, this isn't actually Eris, right? This is...
I have, before we get too deep into this one, I have a lot of questions, because this one makes my head hurt a little bit in so much as in this card in particular, there is a breakdown of quote unquote the code, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which we'll get into. How, and I know Paul and I talked about this earlier a little bit, but how would a physical letter, be altered midway through? Like, why is there alterations midway through if it's a letter slipped into the box during Starlight? Because in this card, they literally call out, oh no, your ghost is breaking my code too much. I guess I better stop trying to hide it. Why?
I guess
How?
I know I hate when people do this, but I'm going to answer your question with a question. Why are you thinking that this was a physical letter?
Because of the line in the first card where it talks about I slip these letters. I can only slip these letters into the Queen's gifts when the stars are right.
Right. So the thing too is, remember that the gifts are ingrammatically coded. Communication within Destiny seems to take lines of digital communication via engrams and engrammatic code, which I have a whole growing theory about how that works. But the engrammatic process is the encoding of different data within the matter of engrams. And so when I read that, when I saw I can only slip these letters into the kiss, I didn't think, oh, it's an actual physical letter. I thought this is a digital, basically an email that is embedded inside the engram, because it's the same as stolen intelligence, right? And stolen intelligence was basically a file that was appended to the data stream of the level up packages that we were given from Zavala.
It's a passive thing, though. You send like an email, you write the email and then send it, unless it's like a chat, a physical chat.
Okay,
like
so
how would...
oh gosh, no, it's not. Because the thing with digital mediums is that by nature you can put, gosh, man, there's a reason why phishing emails are a thing. Emails are not passive by any means. They are not passive. They can appear passive. When you open up an email, there is a lot going on behind the scenes that can actually do a significant amount of damage to your computer. It's one of the ways that a lot of attacks on firewalls actually bypass the firewall, is that you open up an email, it has a worm program, and it activates upon opening. There's a lot of times that and the reason I know this is a huge thing that at my actual my job, because we work within the financial industry, we are constantly having to be trained on how to handle this exact thing. Emails are one of, if not the most common way that people will puncture or will get a foot in the door past firewalls, because what it does is you can piggyback code on top of emails that is unseen. And when you open up an email, the easy way to do this is by embedding a quote unquote picture. Pictures have what's called metadata. Actually, everything digital has metadata. And that metadata can be repurposed to conceal snippets of code that, when properly activated or combined with other things, will then create a Trojan horse or a virus for that individual to then activate from outside. And so when you're talking about a digital means of communication, it's not a surprise to me that there is code embedded, because remember, and again, this whole thing, if it's a digital communication piece, the whole thing is actually code. Like, everyone sees just text on the screen, but anytime you see text on the screen, that's just a UI or UX presentation of the code that's underneath, right? There is always going to be metadata. There's always going to be, pick your language. JSP is a very common one. JavaScript is a very common one. VelocityScript is another very common one, with everything kind of moving onto the web today in real life. If you're ever, curious about this, if you're in like Google Chrome or Internet Edge or any of the newer browsers, you can right click and there should be an option to inspect. If you do that, it will crack open it will expose the public options of that particular code and you can actually see what I'm talking about. You can see all the metadata that is going on behind the scenes. An easy way to do this is like on the TWAB. If you do that, if you really like that header, that's the easiest way to actually snag that header. So you inspect the header, it'll tell you the exact location of that particular image. Not only will it tell you the exact location of that image, it will tell you the location of that image on Bungie's server. And so if you can backtrace, and that being said, if you are not going to have necessarily the best intent, you can use that information then to backdoor or strong arm your way into a server. Not saying that Bungie is, I'm sure Bungie has a firewall against that specific attack. I'd actually be surprised if they don't. But that is how you can gain access to different things. Is you can inspect it, you grab the metadata, you manipulate that metadata, send it back, and bam, you got a way in. So when you're talking about the communication as being like embedded in here, the reason why I was kind of imagining this as an engrammatic data stream is because exactly what you're saying. When you see Will You Smile, when the ghost is like, when she makes the comment about the ghost scrubbing it and stuff like that, it's
right.
Which I find absolutely, it was one of the things I actually found funny about this, because Ghost, we always made fun of Ghost for his kind of fat fingering his way through code. And this is a nod to Ghost actually doing really well with decoding things. Now, we can go down the rabbit hole if that's actually what's going on or if it's another lie that's being layered in. But that's why
I'm inclined to think.
I am right there with you, actually. I think that this was an entirely intentional. But, the whole thing with the Medusa presentation of Craftmind and concept like that, that's actually why I actually picked up this as a digital communication and not a physical letter. Because again, even within the Dreaming City rewards, we get an engram from that. We don't actually because that's the thing is like, even though you pull a, X gun or piece of armor, even though we get that physical item, we decoded that engram to achieve that item or to acquire that item. That was a decoding in process that you actually don't see. Anytime you pick up a item in the world of Destiny, it's always going to be presented initially as an engram, and then when you pick it up, if it's a blue, a green, or even some purple engrams, actually even exotics now in Destiny 2, we already can decode those on the fly. Right. That was something that I really like, having us being able to do that, because it kind of gives a nod to our Guardian and our Ghost. Right, I would nod more towards the Ghost, kind of learning the ins and outs of decrypting cryptology of that concept.
Okay, we should get back to the real. I know that's going to tie into stuff later on.
Yeah. And right. No, it's a huge, but it does.
Right.
This entire thing, the concept, I would, when you get done reading through it, I know we've kind of said don't read through it with information in your bracket, but like the concept of malware is a huge component of this entire book.
Right.
Like that entire concept is very important, especially as you get in the later portions, because this is a book that is malware. Like, this is basically malware. That's how it's being presented. And we've seen multiple books being presented that way. Stolen Intelligence was actually a case of malware. Honor hacked the feed for rewards, and that's how she was giving out that information. She had appended it to the end of the engrammatic transfer of rewards to every Guardian. So this is not by any means a new way of seeing, even though this technically came out before Stolen Intelligence. Like, the concept, though, is very similar.
It did. So Will You Smile, we find out, or at least we sort of find out about Medusa, the card that broke the internet for a day. Do you remember when this came out?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Back in, was it December?
Was it December or was it September?
It was a long time ago.
I think it was
It would have
September.
been
September 4th.
okay.
I think is the history file on Ishtar says August 29th to September 4th, I think is the updated version.
I think that's when it went into the API, but I don't think it released until later.
That's fair, yeah.
Because it was one of the locked ones. But Medusa. Cole, do you remember who Medusa was in this card?
She is the supposed AI feeding this lie of Eris. But even then, I don't think Medusa is a real thing either. I really don't.
Medusa, the craft mind.
Real quick, chat's updating us. November was when this one came out.
See? Later than September. Anyway. Craft mind, Medusa, AI. What gives you the feel, like, was there something in this card in particular that gave you the feeling that it was not actually an AI?
Well, I mean, it gives off the appearance of an AI, but just the way some of it's done doesn't make sense. Like, for instance, there's actually a part of programming language, or it's actually in the next card. But you would think that an AI would be smarter than it is if it's trying to hide something. So to be utterly blatant of, yes, I'm an AI. And if it actually was, it would see what Zavala had tried to do to Rasputin in D1 and now in D2. Like, it would be smarter about being more careful about saying who it is. Now, granted, we wouldn't go run into Zavala or Core or anything, but knowing the hidden, they probably already know. So I really don't think it's under AI. And even then, if it was, I'm pretty sure Rasputin would have killed her already. So I think it's something else entirely.
That's fair. Is there anything in this card, Blue, that you want to call out in particular besides the obvious code?
So actually, devil's advocate for what Cole was talking about. I'm not going to weigh in on my thought as to far as if it's a lie or if it's a truth or whatever. I'm going to just talk about, I'm just going to approach this as if this is just the only card, right? The concept of craft mind is A, fascinating. I absolutely love it. But B, the other thing is the actual description that they give of a craft mind would in fact answer, Cole, I think your qualms about it being AI. Because if you look at what a craft mind is, hang on real quick. Craft mind is an AI designed to be highly empathetic, and it collects and analyzes human intelligence similar to that of the militant defense of Rasputin. Medusa watches and collects data over the awoken and the dreaming city. It is a repository of data regarding the illogical component of the human existence, right? So it is going to go off data that is, whereas Rasputin is like facts, and Rasputin seems to be much more cold logic. Medusa, as presented in here as a craft mind, which is also a concept presented in here, is the emotional component, right? It's the emotional part of the AI spectrum, if you will. So to me, as a devil's advocate, to that point, I think that would explain where you kind of get the, it's the illogical. It's because this AI was designed, if this is an AI, was designed from the ground up to be an emotional AI, which is a fascinating talk. Like that's a tangent that is dangerous for me, because it gets into the question of like, what is emotion? Like how do you quantify that? Well, you can't quantify it because it's a freaking emotion, right? You can't. But that is what the presentation of a craft mind is this repository of emotional intelligence, whereas with other AI units we kind of get this factual information. It's really, I think that's really cool. But I think that also kind of explains where you get the idea of like, oh, well, this AI is not really good at the AI thing. It's because by its nature, it's explained as not being an AI that is focused on it being an AI. It is literally an emotional repository of the information and cultural significance of events. And so I think that's where, if you are looking at AIs as being super focused on a particular aspect, that would, to me, explain why this particular AI is not good at, subversion, or not very good at, well, I would hesitate to say that. It's not very good at quote unquote lying. Or is it? That's kind of the thing, is like, again, if this is what we would refer to as an EQ AI, that in fact would also make a nod to, is that necessarily, truth? If anything, a AI that collects emotional intelligence, I would argue, would be more dangerous and more likely to be able to lie smoothly, because they know how to manipulate your emotions.
Now, there's 2 points.
Does that make sense? Does that make sense?
It does.
Okay.
It does. It makes sense now. So to actually embolden your point, so there is a line that says AI com / Medusa farflung whatever. There's a section there that says C3I. Now that's an actual real world term of military communication and command center. So it could actually be a military AI that does go off emotions and catalogs and learns to manipulate through emotion, because it's psychological, and it's a very real thing. So that does help your point, but coming from my perspective, I still don't think it's Eris or an AI or anything. And when we get to the final card, I'll actually explain my theory on the whole thing.
Yeah.
So
the other thing that I really like in this card is the explanation of what Mara was doing. With the metaphor of judo. I really like that.
Was that Mara or Eris?
No, it was Mara. Because so she uses Eris as an explanation for what Mara did to Oryx. Real quick, let me see. So it says, royalty knows its own. When Oryx destroyed Mara's catch, he used his crowning weapon, the last and surest argument for his omnipotence. He extended the pocket universe of his throne world into our cosmos, and with it he destroyed his foes. Whatever fell within it became subject to his will. He was the taken king, and he took. It was a death befitting a queen. And Mara did die, but she was not destroyed. And then she kind of jumps back. Before I was ever a guardian, I learned judo. I'm just going to cut out the interjection of code. Before I was ever a guardian, I learned judo. Look at yourself, guardian. Look at the body you so recklessly destroy and recreate and destroy again. Will you try for me to become that body for a moment? Even an exo has a human's interoception. Imagine that you have lost your ghost as I did. Feel your breath in the cask of your chest. Feel your pulse shuttling power from your lungs to your aching calves. Now imagine that I stand across from you in the fighting ring. I wear the loose whited belted robes of the judoka. How strange. I find myself hoping that you imagine me with more human eyes. Imagine how we fight. You are strong in the light, an angel of strength and will. I am only a mortal woman, slow and soft. When I was Erissia in St. Petersburg, I cursed my own softness. But the principle of judo is that softness controls hardness. I might sidestep your hip and grip the passing arm, putting my own power into that hit to strengthen the strike that strikes nothing and leave you off balance. By agility and surprise, I used the power of the blow for my own purpose. Thus the queen accepted Oryx's strike, and the power of his grasp became the invitation she required to step forward and up and into the realm of Oryx's throne, where she went not as a victim, but as an infiltrator, trusting me to end Oryx and leave her free in a domain of newly masterless power. If I throw you to the mat, will you drag me down with you? Will you curse and fight? Will you smile? So that's again that concept of the deflection of power. Is that part is kind of in line with what we do see Mara actually doing with Oryx. And so that's where, and I really like that metaphor because that is a pretty accurate metaphor of using the process of the strike to do its own self damage. It's very accurate, and I like it. So then it kind of goes into the whole concept of, then we start seeing the Gemini dyad code, which I find that kind of interesting there as well. Dyad, just to kind of break that apart real quick. There's a couple, just because it's interesting keywords. Dyad is something that consists of two parts or elements. Gemini is, a lot of people will recognize the Gemini as the astrological sign. It's the third astrological sign. It involves the twin figures of Castor and Pollux. These twins are actually known in most mythology as the Disoccuri. There's just huge stories about Castor and Pollux. But the other thing about Gemini is that this sign is considered to be one of the most important in zodiacs because it actually captures man's most basic level, stemming from our concept of a dual nature creature. So we have both that idea that we have both lower and higher natures, basically. And then the MSDA, that's where we get the concept of Medusa. There's actually a lot of different ways to take that. Medusa is agreed in all myths that Medusa was a Gorgon. The origin and the creation story of Medusa varies in a lot of different things. For instance, Attic tradition kind of presents Medusa as a member of the Gorgons, with the references that she was one of the only mortal ones. And that was kind of, again, a consistent theme. Gorgons were presented as immortal, but because of Medusa not being a true Gorgon, she was actually she was either one of or the only mortal Gorgon. And Gorgons are the mythological creatures that have the ability to turn their opponents into stone by looking at them. Some legends have Medusa with the very commonly seen hair of snakes. Not all myths do. Not all Gorgons have that. Medusa, that did seem to be a common thing with Medusa, and that was tied very closely to the creation of Medusa. And so, like, and really the story that a lot of people probably recognize with Medusa is the one from Metamorphosis, from Ovid. And that is where Ovid notes that Medusa alone has snakes for hair, and that is stemmed into the curse by Athena. Within Metamorphosis, it is actually Medusa who offends Athena. Some stories will say that Medusa was a victim and Athena was actually defending her. But the common thing is that whichever the intent was, the source of, quote, the curse was basically her and Poseidon having relations in one of Athena's temples, and in rage or in order to protect her from Poseidon, depending on which myth you're particularly reading, Athena curses her to become a Gorgon, and in punishment, because that point of fascination for Poseidon was her hair, there was a multiple comments about being enthralled by her golden hair. In punishment, Athena corrupts that and turns her hair into snakes. Yeah, and then, like, given how far down that mythological rabbit hole you want to go, you have Hesiod and Theogony. You have the Attic tradition. Different legend sources have slightly different variations of the particular myth, but the most common one that a lot of people will recognize is the Metamorphosis myth. There's actually a very interesting alternative to that myth that is in another podcast called Mythology that I really would recommend people giving a listen to. It's very, very well done. But just really, that was just kind of a connection. There's not really a connection between Medusa and Eris within mythology. I know that was
a side note.
Yeah.
So real quick, Medusa is quote unquote a Gorgon. The only time we ever see that term in Destiny is the Gorgons in Vault of Glass, who have a death stare. Just want to side note that for a later point in the topic.
Yes. No. Yeah. And that's another connection too to be made. The Vex do tend, our labeling of Vex units is very Greek mythological. we've made that comment before about the different alien NPC species having a very nuanced or very specific naming convention. The Cabal have the Roman-esque naming convention. The Vex have the Greek mythology. Fallen kind of have this like pirate concept. Hive are very dark fantasy. Like there's very specific pillars of community or very specific silos of labels that are given to each one. And I don't think that's by mistake that we see Medusa being brought in because of exactly what you're saying right there is that nod to the Gorgon. Yeah. And again, I know it was like around the time that this card came out. I know one of the big questions that at least I was seeing is like the connection between Medusa and Eris. And it's like, honestly, there's not any, like, I mean, maybe there depending on the myths, right? Yeah, because myths are fun like that. They're oral traditions, so of course everyone's different. But like, I could see maybe a very small connection between Eris in mythology and the Gorgons, but it's not very prevalent. To be honest, those two particular stories didn't ever really cross paths.
Should we move into the Medusa card itself with its 7 different itemized designations that are going on?
Yes.
So in this card itself, it's the first of the quote-unquote Medusa cards. It has the header on it that we have figured out with the Gemini dyad that Blue was talking about earlier, with the C3I that Cole was mentioning earlier. And it reads very interestingly in the fact that it has 7 different quote-unquote paragraphs or designations or assertions within this card. And it is Medusa apologizing for her deception a little bit. It talks about how the Taken got to the Dreaming City through the Ascendant Realm after Oryx's demise during the raid. And through there, it kind of continues to talk about it, and it designates 2 different problems that it wants to figure out. And it comes at number 4. It says, I determine with good confidence, 3 Sigma, that Oryx is dead. The Taken here became directionless and scattered until the death of the ontopathic predator Riven opened the city to massive Taken assault. Why? I will code this as problem 1. Second problem. 5. The Guardian counterattack against Dul and Karu, whose thought pierced like needles triggered the ongoing causal loop. Why? How? I will code this as problem 2. So in this card, it's mostly Medusa trying to figure out how to function more like Rasputin does, in so much as trying to decide what's going on and how it's happening, and trying to apologize and whatnot of her previous things. Blue. Diving into this. I didn't find too much personally in here on this card in particular that really stuck out to me. But is there anything that you or Cole thought was important?
Yeah, no, I the summary of the 2 problems is the primary importance. The other thing that was predominant in this particular entry was, again, taking the debate whether or not this is factual events out. The thing to keep in mind is that she makes the comment that while she is collating data to address these particular questions, the 2 questions that you had just mentioned, the fact of the Dreaming City's importance is something that is undeniable to the craft mind. So within this particular entry, she refers to, again, Dreaming City is of utmost importance. We'll get, I think it's in the next card that kind of gets brought up again too. But that is something that was also kind of I can't remember if that was presented in so many words, but it was something that she did stress or it did stress heavily. But yeah, no, the problems really, which I mean, again, we kind of see, we see, I don't think I had anything. Sorry, I'm just flipping notes real quick. I don't think this was the one that had the Easter egg.
No, that's later. The one with the marathon Easter egg.
Yeah, the marathon Easter egg.
Yeah, that's later.
That's later,
that's
right?
Later. Yeah, it's Khalil or Kalai.
Yeah, Kalia.
Yeah, Kalia. That's later.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, like, I think the other thing here that I would note is that it does present a very biased presentation, or insofar as there is a lot of supposition going on even within this card. I do like that, actually, because like for point number 2 is my best guess. That's the very entry. Is like it's presenting this as like, hey, look, this is what I think is going on. I like that because first off, it does line up with what we pretty much think is what happened, given the information that we have elsewhere. But this would be how, outside of the knowledge that we have, someone else having, they're assuming the flow of what brought the Taken into the Dreaming City. I appreciate that. I like that kind of little, hey, not everyone has the information you have as a guardian, and this is how you can deduct this happening if you don't have that information, is kind of how I took it. But yeah, basically Medusa is just the situation report on the hive presence within the Dreaming City and the potential problems that they have there. Cole, I'm going to hand it to you.
So there's 2 other things I want to notate in this card. One is it's called the sit rep on hive presence, but there's also a mention of the sky shock arrays, which the only point in time we actually do anything with those is back in D1, where you had to protect the control panels, and that was a hive mission. So I find it rather interesting that it's kind of like harkening back all the way there.
Right.
Yeah, and then the Sky Shock was also a connection to the Taken as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Sky Shock event, the black and white events.
Yeah, the Karia.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Karia.
Oh, God, the debates of that.
Uh-huh.
The second thing I want to note is, like, we learned that this whole thing is a lie, that, Eris is a lie and all that. So already we're forced to take a step back and analyze everything that's being told us, because now we're trying to figure out, is it real, is it a lie, and so on and so forth. Mm-hmm. But in the 0 section, whoever it is asking, are you well? Does anyone anywhere ask after your wellness? You've done so much. I hope you have friends, not just people who send you on errands. Now, to me, that's now planting a seed of, I would say, almost resentment.
Planting doubt.
Now you're looking like, do I actually have friends? Mm-hmm. But now this thing is asking me if I'm well. So I think there's like a seed going on right there.
Well, and that goes back to what you were saying about the C3I, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the subversion of that.
Yep. That's all I got, though. Like, I just found it really interesting that little seed is right there, because it had to put it in there.
Oh, yeah, and I think that highlights too a big part of what this entry is supposed to do. When we were talking with John, he kind of made the comment about that was his entire purpose of kind of putting together Nezarec was, it's like, no, he exists to create theories. Like, it's not that there is like a master. I mean, I'm not going to say, I don't think he ever went on record saying that there wasn't a master plan for that particular character, but he did say that, half of the point is to actually make us as gamers think about things and force us into situations where I'm not comfortable saying that this is actual fact and this is not. It's how do you keep you on your toes? So I think also, that again goes back to my appreciation for this book is the fact that it does create uncomfortable, like, is this true? Is this not true? Is this, you constantly are having to reevaluate the information within it. I find that entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm also
I think this whole book is this way.
An intellectual masochist. So, it's, to me, I like the theory crafting and the questioning of information and reevaluation that this book does.
Which, speaking of that, that's this next card. The next card is the card you were mentioning earlier.
That is brave. There's so many mythological connections to this one too.
Mm-hmm.
So excuse me, man. This is a basically report on the cosmology of the Dreaming City. So I don't know, Green, you're better at summarizing them. I'm better. I feel like I'm going down too many tangents.
You do in-depth stuff. I get the summary type things. So let me pull up the actual card because right now I have just my notes on it. This card is 2 different events, 2 different messages that come in. Also a C3I covert card. There are 2 different miniature stories. Also, codes hidden within these 2 cards, which drive me freaking crazy. So if you love breaking codes, there are codes in this scattered throughout this book in lots of different ways. So the first one is another failed timeline. It's basically acknowledging the whole 3-week cycle in the first section and talking about the Dreaming City. And I know Cole had some notes about this entry part in particular because it has a coding thing. And I'm sure, Blue, you have some fun things to go with this one. But Medusa is going through and correlated the Awoken myth with ontocartography salvaged from Oryx's dreadnought. The original home of the Awoken still exists. Big news there. Distributary is still out there somewhere. Where? We don't know yet. They're saying it's somewhere within the system, but we are not entirely certain. But they're saying somewhere around the sun, singularity that orbits our sun. Doesn't say where at within the system though. And she says she acknowledges there's no way to reply to the message, but I'm an empathic and feeling machine, vulnerable to loneliness. So this is another call out from the craft mind aspect. Then, message 2, Medusa has a brain stain alert. And she freaks out because essentially what's going on is there is a point where who is it? I don't remember which bad guy it is essentially trying to break into it. There's a mention of Aleph and let's see here, Riven, the ontopathic predator, the chimera, which has riven your desires from your intent.
God,
it wanted you
I
here.
feel like there's a code in there too.
There is. It is. And it's literally read just the words with the first capital letter. Riven desires your intents. It wanted you here.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I overthought that.
Yeah, it's a lot more simple than most people think. Yeah. There's another code as well. There's more within that than what is just said straight up. But there are some breakdowns in the encryption, it looks like. Neurofatal signals, subjectivity gloved, mind state unable to continue, panic, illegal causality event during associative access into training data. Date is not a legal time address. Please help me if you can. I don't want to be a bother. AI Medusa freeze and dump kill state to AI live / morgue. No response from remote server. Dump failed. So it sounds at the end like Medusa is freaking out. She's postulating more about the Awoken Society and also pushing a coded message out to us through this, then freaking out because she's not able to actually dump the information into wherever her stores are.
Mm-hmm.
And she freaks out in this card throughout it. Beyond that, summarizing it, there's a lot of information about the raid groups in here. Can you imagine the unified will of 6 elite godslayers wishing for a single thing, which was her destruction, purification? Can you imagine how she feasted upon you? Basically, she's calling out the fact that we're the one feeding Zavathun or Duel and Karu. Long summary for that one, but it's there. Blue.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Thetis Brave. So there's a couple things that it stood out to me. Mention of the cycles being separate timelines was made here. So basically every 3 weeks is referred to as a different timeline, which is interesting. The story of Achilles is mentioned, which will tie into the actual name of this particular card. Thetis is actually Achilles' mother. Now, as mentioned, there are different versions. The version of the story of Achilles that is mentioned here is actually written by a author known as Statius. It was actually in the 1st century AD. It stems from the Achilleid. And the reason why that is important is that actually the earlier versions of the myth of Achilles don't hold the general view of the hero being invulnerable. So the concept of Achilles as being a invulnerable mortal was actually not in place until the 1st century AD. So you see in the Iliad, for example, by Homer and that era of stories, Achilles is actually constantly being wounded. In the Iliad, for example, he is wounded at the elbow in a fight near the river Scamander. His death actually is not, as most people think, the Achilles heel, if you will. The actual death in earlier versions of the myth was actually him getting struck in his chest by arrows. It wasn't until later renditions of the Iliad and the retelling of those stories post the Achilleid being widely published that we see the concept of him getting shot in the heel. This is also, so that's just an interesting little tangent there for me. This also is where we get a Easter egg with Marathon, which I know was not a huge surprise for a lot of Bungie fans. But the mentioning of Kalia is a direct and overt nod to the games of Marathon. Kalia was one of the moons that was orbiting the planet Lahoina, which was the home of the Sphitker, which was a tribe of the Sphit, which were NPC class or NPC race. Now the Sphitker were the tribe. It was considered the 11th tribe of the Sphit, and they abandoned Lahoin after just a massive brutal war with the other tribes, and they actually took up residence on Kalia. And then 1,000 years following that particular departure, they had been forgotten on Lahoine. And Yarrow was another big bad in the game, actually set that moon adrift. So he actually kicked that moon out of the orbit, and they just vanished. Well, in Marathon 2 and Marathon Infinity, there is a particular event that is going on, and one of the entire concepts of that particular game is the liberation of the Sphit, because they were aliens who had been, against their will, cybernetically enhanced in order to terraform Lahoine. And so Lohone is the primary location for the majority of Marathon 2 and Infinity. So that's why the Sifit are so integral to this particular story. But there is a character who goes by the name of Thoth, and it is during the events of Marathon 2 and in Marathon Infinity, which during the liberation by the Marine and Durandal, Thoth actually recalls Kalia back. But the point that I would also make here is that we actually don't know if inside the games as they exist for Marathon currently, we don't know if Kalia actually ever made it back. It has been recalled, which is where the nod here in Thetis Brave, which I believe is number, what was that? God, I just blanked on which part was, but she basically says, I am like Kalia and I'm being recalled. Number 1 on the first portion, she says, the Dreaming City was built in imitation of a greater world, a wonder lost to the awoken but not forgotten, like wandering Kalia, which I am called summoned home. So that is that entire connection there. And then the other thing here is we get a claim, air quotes here, a claim of the true purpose of Guardians being the discovery of the distributary. So this is, and keep that in mind because that's going to be mentioned later. And then also, I love this one. This is going to tie into the concept of Imbaru, but there does, in my mind, when I read this as a nod to the lore community and the desire of Medusa that Guardians gather and discuss her words, origin, and location with others and obsess over those facts. Like, I found that pretty, I kind of chuckled when I read that.
Yeah, there's a lot of nods to the community.
Oh my God. When we get into Imbaru, Imbaru is like a huge, I don't know if it's an FU or a good job, keep doing it. Like, I
think it's a little bit of both.
I think it is too, but I love it. I love the concept of Imbaru. But yeah, so I think that's where today, this particular one, I think is the start of that. We're kind of getting introduced to the concept that will later be defined as Imbaru. But Cole, I didn't know if I missed anything.
The only thing I want to notate is actually a continuation of I can't even say this term, concatenating code, which if you look up at, what was it, number 1, like Wandering Kalia, and then it has that weird ampersand and underscore.
Right.
And it continues on. That's actually a real code in real life. Of going from one string to the next. So like hello world, which is often the first code that people do. It kind of gives a nod to that.
I forgot.
It's kind of weird that it's suddenly there. So it looks like it's like going back to decoding all these pages as we get them. It looks like this ampersand and underscore is a disruption somewhere, but then it's also smack dab in the middle of connecting Destiny to Marathon. So
which might be a nod there too.
Which also gives us
connecting the two.
Which also gives us the dyad, which has been mentioned twice before. So it's literally 2 parts coming together.
Oh, so. Marathon and Durandal, how you vex me so often.
Yeah. So that's what I want to notate, that it's because Bungie doesn't write just random stuff for nothing. It's got to be there for a reason.
Yeah, and I think the other thing too with the connection that I was seeing with Marathon with the Sifit is the entire purpose of their existence was to terraform a world for their overlords. And you can kind of argue that was in the paradigm that is presented within these entries, you can argue that that's also similar to the Awoken's creation with their entire process on the distributary, right? Is if they were created, which they were created, was that in the same line as the Sifit from Marathon, where they created to create a particular world and and that kind of ties into again the whole concept of Imbaru. Were they created to further that? I mean, that's starting to be the question that forms with that particular thought process or thought exercise.
Well, losing the moon is much like losing the colony ship, and then they're suddenly something they weren't before. So,
and then they were called home to, and yeah, I mean, there's a lot of connections I think that you could that we could make with those particular things too.
But we'll be here all night, and I want pancakes.
Yes, and Cole wants pancakes, so let's choose how to act and react.
Yes.
So
this is Green's favorite card ever.
These two, the two that are the choose your own adventure, I'm like...
Well, to be fair, Green, it's more than two. It's pretty much every card after this up until React. Like, these are just the bookends, I would argue. I really think that most of the cards between these two are actually still parts of the Choose Your Adventure. LSD the card. Oh man, I also might have made Green uncomfortable with that part too.
Yeah. Oh my god. Yeah. Okay. So if you are a fan of the Choose Your Own Adventure books, where if you choose this choice, go to this part of the book. That is this card. God, there's everything. It leads to the same ending, but it starts with, you experience a vivid hallucination. You are standing in the courtyard of the tower. You are without armor or weapons, and your senses seem more vivid than usual. Under your tongue is a taste of salt. Blue broke me because of his notes on this card.
I get a message from Green. She's like, I have questions and lots of concerns.
Right. Because his note on this card mentions the date rape drug, and I'm like, how do you know about this, Blue? I have questions because
I exist in the world.
I didn't even know about that. That's the thing.
So
is like
there's to put into context the creepy thing that she just said. The reason why I brought that logic in is there's very few hallucinogens that also are connected with the concept of the taste of salt. GHB, or gamma hydroxybutyrate, which is also known as the date rape drug or a club drug, is one of the few. I believe there's some variants of LSD that will also do this, but GHB is very commonly ascribed to having a salt-like taste if it's taken by itself. This is not to be confused with roofies. Roofies is a completely different other chemical makeup. Similar effect, but not as fun, I guess, because GHB actually, if you don't not OD, but if you don't over imbibe with GHB, it will actually induce hallucinations. Now there's a fine line, and that's where you get the difference between club drug and date rape. Like there's a difference there. But GHB, what it is it's a central nervous system depressant that actually does include among its, I love the website that I was looking at. It's like the positive side effects and the negative side effects. I'm like, no, that's gonna be
positive. That.
This is gonna be all in the latter and should not be in the former. That's just my personal opinion there. Obviously, whatever. But GHB does include among its effects the experience of vivid hallucinations. The connector here, again, is that it is one of the very few hallucinogens that has the salty tinge in flavors. Other CNS depressants, which would include roofies and that ilk, those tend to be flavorless, which is why they're so dangerous. That's why it's so uncomfortable to talk about them, is because you won't know that you have been roofied. You won't know that. Whereas with GHB, if you're not drinking a strong drink, I guess, and someone tries to slip you GHB and you're paying attention, you do have a bit of a aha moment. There's a red flag going on. I did not put salt in this drink. Yeah, I don't know how I'm going to recover from that statement. So anyways, just moving on, that's where the connection here is. So basically what I messaged Green was, hey, look, the chat. Thank you for listening to Street Smarts, the podcast with your host Blue.
Yeah.
The reason I die laughing because I just watched John Mulaney's Radio City, and he has an entire skit about Street Smarts, which is freaking hilarious.
Nice.
But no, so the reason why I kind of brought this up was I was like, this is entirely the case that her guardian has been roofied.
Right. And
it's like, hey,
if you didn't know it from the thing at the very top, the speaker has been replaced with a Hydra. There are other things that are obvious, like
Cade.
Major problems.
Cade's dealing out cards, and he's like, "I just they keep me from Nessus. they have a copy of me on Nessus." I was like, "Yeah, this is a really fun trip down the memory lane of acid trips, apparently."
Mm-hmm. Gosh, yeah. This also takes place back in D1.
Mm-hmm. Which is weird because the confluence there is also disconnected because with Cade he mentions Nessus, but it's on the original tower. So yeah,
because Eris is also there, and
you get to play soccer with Eris.
Which is also weird. There's also mentions of killing Ribbon in this card and Medusa. Like you bring Medusa before Rahul. He sniffs. Another battle trophy, pre-collapse, post-foreboding, a covert intelligence designed to watch over a high-risk colony mission. Allow me to decrypt her for you. It's like, oh god. Rahul getting a hold of Medusa? No, thank you.
I'm sorry. There's something
I don't think you know what to do with her.
I have an answer to that, but I'm not going to say it on the podcast because there is actually an answer to that.
Oh no!
From a idle bark that he had in D1. So keep that in your back of your mind. And I kind of mapped out the choice path for this entry. Pretty much the true ending seems to be A. There's a few other like nuanced individual things. Choice A, if you kind of go down the path and look at it, I do like the call out that if you read them down the list, there's one of them that makes the comment of like, if you're reading these down the list, you see things at like a Vex. And I was like,
which I totally did.
Oh yeah, no, I did too because I was making the choice path and I saw that and I was like. I like that. I like the little like we know what you're doing. But the question that is predominant and has some disturbing implications, especially, is the question that is asked in step I. And it says, Guardians make their own fate, but what if the process by which they decide upon their own fate could be understood and manipulated? Which is akin to what we actually see with like the Saint 14 situation.
We're also seeing it in these cards.
Correct. Yeah, it's trying to understand the paracausal nature of Guardians in order to manipulate that abilities. Which again, going into Cole, I'm going to go back to the C3I is again, subversion of intelligent assets is something that seems to be very prevalent in this entry.
Yeah, because even with the lie about Eros and then saying they're Medusa and the C3I, and now we're given these choices, and we already have, the seed of doubt / resentment, and then the logic of, okay, what am I actually going to choose? Because we're taking emotion out of it because now we know something's up. And in these first choices, they do bring up Cade, which, people are still saying it's too soon, because he died, whatever. Moving on. But then you also have the curiosity of Medusa and handing her over to Rahul. So it's like, do you choose with your heart with Cade, or do you go to Rahul and figure out what Medusa is, which he would know what to do anyways, or do you look at the other choices? So really, it's harkening back to the C3I of, who is figuring out what we're doing, because it is just like the I option of Guardians make their own fate. But then it's also trying to manipulate us with these other choices. Mm-hmm. So really, it's a card feeding into itself.
It totally is.
And the funny thing is you say that because that's actually, if you follow the choice path, it's a cycle. Mm-hmm. If you follow the choice path that actually ends with a like if you walk through and it ends, you end up back where you started. So it actually, if you start at A and you walk down the path, if like your choices will eventually lead back to A.
Yes.
They all lead back to your starting point, which I find interesting in this card especially.
The other thing I want to point out, though, is option K does say achieve light level 99 or 999.
Yeah.
You don't know my points. Final form.
So it's not like, because we don't say light level in game. That is purely just a mechanic thing. No one has ever said, "Oh, what's your light level?" It's how powerful are you with the light. So really, this is a fourth wall break twice in the same card.
Well, I don't know if M was a full. I would argue that
I would
M
say
might not be.
We don't have, unless we're talking about soccer.
That's what I was going to say. Is like that's what I was going to say. Is like if you technically play soccer, you could get 100 points. I kind of agree at the.
I've never seen a game go that high.
No, you can play multiple games. You can play multiple games. And so, like, if you keep choosing, like, technically, if you keep choosing the play soccer with Eris choice, you can argue, I'm just playing devil's advocate there, but, like, I could see an argument being made that you could actually get 100 points, and which would make more sense because the the path that M leads to is all about Eris. Entry X is an actual card that is injection.
It's the next card.
And injection is 100% about Eris. So that's why I also kind of like when you get 100 points, that's because you're playing soccer with Eris so much that you play, however many games that would require.
Last thing I want to note, though, is option L. The Vex compromise your ghost. Your body releases itself into a pool of saline and slime, and your ghost delivers your soul to the Axis mines. Why would your ghost take your soul, which brought back from the dead, to the enemy?
Who says they're the enemy?
Me.
Easy answer.
I can... Again, devil's advocate is the whole concept of the ghost being, the technological wonder that it is. I can see a lot of people making the argument too that would connect to the Vex as well. I mean, just again, devil's advocate there.
So as an XO,
and also Cole, going back. Sorry, just real quick. Also going back to your comment about creating doubt.
Yeah.
If you all of a sudden now are looking at your ghost as a potential threat from the Vex, hey, guess what another side effect of most hallucinogens are? Paranoia.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so there's, to me, that it was just kind of a, but yeah, sorry. As an XO, because that's all I ever play, I don't want somebody else touching my coded soul. That's just gross. Listen, Deepstone.
Keep your fingers out of my soul.
Keep your fingers out of my code? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah. That's
so Cole's not a fan of the long whisper, is what I hear.
Nope. Mm-mm.
Oh, I still want to know more about that one.
I do too. I just want to know what's on enchilada.
Enchilada? Pulled pork.
Oh my gosh, yes. I'm writing that down. That's amazing. Yeah. So the outstanding one is I, and then M, which will lead to actually injection. If you guys want to jump onto that particular one.
Okay, so injection is Duel and Caro in the Dreaming City, essentially, and kind of the supposed purpose there. Let me pull up the actual card again. The notes are pretty. This one's just such a creepy card too. It starts
I'll be honest,
out with a.
I had
Do you want to read it?
I had a completely Doctor Who vibe with this whole
Oh,
particular
really?
card. Oh yeah, because one of the oh gosh, I just blanked on her name, but one of the reoccurring side characters is a slab of skin. Moisturize me.
Oh yeah,
She's like the last. She's
like
last. The last.
second,
It's Rose.
yeah.
It's the one with Rose. It's the arc with Rose. But it's moisturize me. I was like, because there's the description. Their description of Eris as being stretched out. I'm like, all I can see is moisturize me. Like, which made it distinctly less creepy than I think it was intended to make it. But to me, it made it funny.
Oh my gosh, it's such a creepy thing. But it starts out with Eris Morn's body twitches and folds. The sweat on her brow squirms back to her pores and burrows in like glistening larvae. Suddenly there is a sound like a single bone struck upon a metal plate, and in the dark interval between two firework detonations, the body loses all structure, falls loosely upon itself like a rag drifting in water, tumbles and snaps, suddenly flat and taut, into a pane of leather and skin.
Moisturize me. See, it makes it so less creepy.
Though that pane comes a long black needle, or through that pane comes a long black needle, and the skin around it dimples into the erratic spun cancer topology of some gruesome four-dimensional waveform which no monist process could ever produce. Yeah, it's super creepy.
Yeah, I can't redeem that part. Sorry.
It's super creepy.
That's beyond my Doctor Who jokes.
But it's like, okay, so we have these cards back in D1 that were the torture scenes.
Oh God, the
torture
Omar
scenes of the wizards. Yeah, and of Omar as well, because we tortured the wizards to try to get information out of them, and then
Ariana
the wizards
did.
are. And then there's the wizards torturing Omar in the very first Crota Fire team. So now we have an image of Eris Morn being tortured. It's
Fun.
such, yeah, yeah. Out of that needle, as if dispatched into the world through a fatal injection, comes the emaciated magnificence of Dul and Karu. It's such a creepy card, but this is one of the options to end that last card because it says go to X, right?
Yes,
this card X.
That's if you have a score of 100, go to X. Which again, the only option to get points within that previous entry was playing soccer with Eris. So that's where I personally saw the connection. There was, or I saw a possible connection, I guess should say, between the 100 points being with soccer games, playing multiple soccer games with Eris. Well, you enjoy Eris's presence so much. Here's a scene with Eris. Is kind of how I kind of took that.
Yep.
I have no idea if that's what the intent was, but that's to my brain, that's what made sense. Chat.
What?
The Hive don't know safe words. It's so bad. There is another connection here as well to the witch.
Yes.
So
the witch
we have
as Savathun.
Well, as Duel.
As Duel?
Yeah,
or as Savathun? Because there's mention of the witch being Savathun later.
Correct, but there's also Duel has the Ahamkara bone China set, and also arrives through a needle.
Hey, that's a callback to last week's episode on Dust.
Right. Yes. Sorry. Yeah, that's the witch. Right. Is Dust? Isn't that? Or God, I always confuse that with
Ecdysis.
Ecdysis. I flip those.
We haven't done
time.
Ecdysis yet.
So yeah, the connection, there's a couple possible connections to dust in the sense that we have the needle being a means of transport, as well as, again, a bone china set that is an Ahamkara bone china set, which that's not also super creepy. It's like, here,
stop making my brethren into daily household items.
Well, I wasn't even gonna go there, but I was gonna actually go with the whole idea of like, hey, here's some green tea with a side of hallucinations.
Yeah,
I mean, that sounds about right when you're hanging around Cole.
Yeah, that's about right.
Okay, fair enough.
I do love my tea.
I don't have a redeeming connection there at all. The only other thing I noted on this one was that it is kind of a vision of Dul Ankara coming forward to divulge information pertaining to the purpose of the Dreaming City's curse and her role within it. And I think that is especially true with the beginning of the presentation. And so X, the step X is actually, I would argue, a multi-entry step. Because we get here an arguably new version of the Books of Sorrow. And this is connecting back to the Gift Mass, which is, I believe it's 46. Yeah, 46, card 46 from the Books of Sorrow from way back in Destiny 1, which is where we see Savathun depart. Now, the
Bless you.
Sorry.
Books of Sorrow... The Books of Sorrow are told from Oryx's point of view, so we've always known that was a biased presentation. We even had Savathun graffiti, "The book is full of lies," in it. So this is actually referred to as verse 154I3, which is her new compact. And so we actually see that particular portion of it from arguably Savathun's point of view. And this is where you kind of start getting a concept that Savathun was also maybe involved with the creation of the Awoken, with the entire concept of her playing with different modes of gathering tribute from around black holes and singularities, which, again, connections here being Imbaru, being the nod of Kalia and the Safit, There's a lot of implications that could be drawn from the multiple comments that have been made here. So that's pretty much my that's pretty much was the takeaway for me here. Imbaru isn't mentioned here just yet, but it's being led up to. I think thank you is actually where... Yeah, thank you is where Imbaru is introduced. And so I think thank you, injection, I believe, so step X, I think, is actually a combination of injection and thank you. I can't remember if it flows into you must as well. Yeah, I think it does flow into you must. But anyways, so X is definitely like the meat of this particular entry of this book. Is at that step X is a particularly important piece, and it has a lot to unpack. But I don't know, was there anything else in injection that you guys wanted to jump on?
I mean, it's the idea that remember, this is still part of the hallucination thing.
Correct.
But beyond that, it's the injection of Dul Ankara into the Dreaming City.
It's also the injection of Dul Ankara into you.
Yes. Also, there's a mention of Ayat at the end.
Yeah, from Savathun.
Yep.
So yeah, do you want to jump to thank you?
I think we should. I think we should indeed.
I got nothing on this card.
Oh, really? I love this card. I think that the thrall, I love the random thrall that Savathun's like, come here real quick. I'm going to talk at you. I want you to not understand anything that I'm saying to give me power. Because that is, in a nutshell, the entire point of Imbaru. Which I love the implications of Imbaru, because we're seeing here a new variation of how to feed the worms, which makes complete sense. Oryx had the navigation and the sword logic. I'm sure that if they ever kind of fully dive into Xivu Arath, we're going to see, I'm hoping we'll see a new version of that as well, like Bloodsport or something like that. And so Savathun is the what was the title that we get with Savathun? Hang on real quick. Witch Queen Savathun, Archentrope, Queen of Encrypts, the Black Needle, Deepest in the High Coven, Emancipator of Worms, the missing piece of all puzzles, who shall see the cosmos unborn into an infinite by dwindled egg. Game of Thrones has nothing on Savathun, is what I heard. No, so, but I love the idea of, like, Imbaru is this concept of tribute of failing to understand. And this is where I also argue that we see a really cool little funny nod at the lore community. But really quick on Imbaru, I wanted to say, where did I write this down? It's Kinyarwanda, which is the language of Rwanda. It's the word for enchantment. So it's kind of a nice little nod to that as well as an enchantment. Imbaru is described here to a thrall, which I love. From a random crypt, Savathun selected a young thrall and summoned it to the High Coven. And she basically did the super evil villain, I'm going to reveal my plot to you kind of thing. And Thrall is just the Thrall is like completely confused. It's like I don't know what's going on. And she says with this, so she's talking about all the failed attempts to kind of trick the worms into letting her manipulate pocket worlds and dip black holes to increase the concept of, or to increase things to create basically a murder battery, which will give her infinite power. The worms see through it, and they nip it in the bud, really. And so she's like, okay. So she then goes back and says, all right, I'm going to refinance my entire existence. I'm going to create what she calls a humdinger of a scheme. I think that's funny. She says, I'm going to move from an existential economy based on the accumulation of violence to an existential economy based on the accumulation of secrets and the tribute of failing to understand me. I shall name this tribute of failing to understand me Imbaru, for it shall be as formless as the mist. Best part here is the thrall held up its claws as if to say, please slow down.
Just whoa.
Whoa. I can just see a thrall being like, I don't even know why I'm here, lady. Like, what is going on? And so she continues. She says, in the beginning, Yule said to me, Savathun, you may never abandon cunning. If you do, your worm shall devour you. Cunning is the use of thought to predict the function of a system. Therefore, whenever a being should attempt to understand me and fail, has my cunning not defeated theirs? Wherever a falsehood is repeated about me, have I not displayed cunning? I shall gather tribute from every false prediction, misguided theory, fearful rumor, and ominous supposition which derives from the thought of me. And in time I shall pin my quiddity upon these rumors. I shall discorporate, so that I exist wherever my schemes and conspiracies also exist, and so I will be immortal as long as anyone seeks to understand me and fails. Again, Thrall. She asked the Thrall, do you understand? Do you see? And the Thrall demurred, saying that it did not know much of metaphysics.
Right.
I just love the Thrall's partake in this one. So basically what is being presented here is a reimagining of the source of the locus of power, right? Or the locus of power for Savathun's worm. Where Oryx focuses on the sword logic, the actual violence, Savathun is focusing on this concept of failing to understand, because she is defining herself, she is defining her reality as a one of cunning, or as what she says, the existence of secrets, which I love, because again, this is a alternate form of gaining sustenance for her worm. It's a different flavor even of sword logic, arguably. Yeah, and then there's a few other points I had on the encrypted verse, but I didn't know if you guys wanted to. Did I miss anything for that first part?
The encrypted verse is interesting because essentially in this one they call out that you're not going to break this code because they call us a one-time pad.
Yes, yeah, which is, oh my gosh, I love the who am I portion too.
Mm-hmm. Which, granted, that who am I portion is really cool because it lists off so many stinking
trickster gods,
which is cool because you have a Nasi and Kagan and Coyote, which are really interesting gods, but it also reads like an utter code. I feel like there's a code in there because of the T's of.
I think it's an enigma, but I think it's an unsolvable enigma, because I think, and I'm not saying because it's so difficult. I think it's purposely unsolvable because there is no solution.
I would agree
it's written
with that.
Cryptically as in order to be just written cryptically. Again, going back to
Seth likes
Baru.
to do that.
Oh, yes, mm-hmm. and I using a little bit of fourth wall breaking there. Also, given who we know wrote this, yes, that is also true. But going back in game too, you see that within the concept of Imbaru, because again, remember, this is what Savathun's ultimate goal is to become this mist of. I would argue a logical enigma, or a logical mystery, really, is her form of immortality, whereas Oryx's form of immortality was being survived by whatever ultimately killed him through violence. Savathun's will be whatever defeats her on a intellectual level, or if she can, but as long as she has a rumor about her, she will always be alive. It's a
right.
Again, it's a brilliant display of the same concept that we saw with Oryx. Oryx is talking about the literal experience of defeating him on a military or a militant level, and Savathun is talking about the actual existence of memory. And arguably that is going to be the true form of immortality is through one's memories. I really like that particular metaphysical interpretation of immortality. But yes, I also love the like a few of the descriptions in the encrypted verse. the one that really fun one is the purposeful mob, none whose members know its purpose.
Which is that a wall breaking towards us? Is that
no? I think that's just it's just another one of like Mantis, Serpent, Cain, Nazi, Siri cleans his brother's stomach. The Grandmaster of like all these different kind of nods to different little myths and legends, and infinite regress of enigmas, the self-questioning answer. It's just, again, I think it's just one of those things where it's like mob mentality. It's a very common sociological concept, that mob mentality. You get a mob together, you can get them to do almost anything, and they're very purposeful in doing them, but they're not going to ever, the more people you add into a group, the arguably as a whole, they lower the IQ. That's the concept of mob mentality, and that's exactly what this is the purposeful crowd of mob, or the purposeful mob that doesn't think. Like, as long as you just keep doing what she wants you to do, you will give her immortality in a way that is just general guardians. I mean, I guess you could argue, but I also would say that's not restricted to just guardians. That's just everyday people as well. Savathun's defeated by Reddit.
Oh God! Everybody's defeated by Reddit. So Reddit is the true boss of everything.
Oh yeah. Anyways, I do also want to call out that the ending of this particular entry I really like. She says, "Here at the center, I lie to you the truth. You have everything you need to know it, but I will give you a clue as the duelist gives warning before she draws. The answer you seek to the dreaming city is simple, not complex. Thank you, sweet friend. You are a gift and a delight. You are more dear than my mother, for you have given birth to me 1,000 times."
Yeah. So Cole had a good interpretation of this earlier, and it totally threw me for a loop because I had not thought of it. Cole, you wanna share that one, because that was insightful.
I forget now. I don't think that's in my notes.
It was the interpretation of the word lie.
Oh yeah. So instead of actually like lying, as in I'm lying to you that I put salt in your coffee instead of sugar, it's more like lying things on the table as if showing your hand. That sort of thing. Like lying a tablecloth on the table, that sort of thing. So it's like, it's two different, because we have the lie to the entire cards, and then lying everything on the table. That's, again, a dyad of two different parts together. So it could be a total different definition.
Yeah, it's a play on, it's a play on the word.
Yep.
Yeah, because that would be... Huh, yeah. I mean...
It totally changes the interpretation of it, doesn't it? Instead of lies,
I mean,
falsehoods.
Here at the center, I lie to you the truth.
I lay down the truth to you.
Yeah, and my brain doesn't like the symmetry of that sentence. Is where I'm kind of where I'm pausing with that one.
But it is.
I mean, it makes
There's double meanings to a lot of the things in here, for sure.
Oh yes. It doesn't change the way I'm reading it. I mean, like it changes the way I interpret that sentence, but my end conclusion is still going to say the same. That the answer is simple, not complex, because this is dual basically saying, hey, look, she is lying to us, but in her lying, she is leading us to the truth.
Yes.
An interesting thing about talking about the center of things in the Dreaming City, the center is the confluence, right?
Yes.
The blind well, the confluence.
Yeah. I was thinking blind well, but yes, the confluence is right below, I think, if I remember that correctly.
Blue and I went in there earlier, not Blue, Wicked and I went in there earlier, and we're looking around, and if you are in the confluence, you do not show up anywhere on the map.
Correct.
But if you go into the zones it is. But if you go out into the zones outside of there, you will. So you'll show up as an arrow at the top of the map. So it's an interesting... Why would you disappear on the map? Not necessarily they're saying that there's a lore reason or a real reason for it, but I find it interesting that
because that's also the borehole in the reality. Yeah. So you're kind of transcending both realities. You're neither in the ascendant nor in the it's kind of like it's an elevator shaft really between the two is the way I always kind of took it. So you're in transit basically.
Mm-hmm.
Which to me would make that whole idea a little bit more. I'm that's just my head canon. So I have absolutely no backup to that claim.
Right.
But that's kind of where I've always that's how I've always understood it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that answers that question though.
I don't know if there's like a real question to it, but there's definitely just it makes you wonder a tiny bit. Not really a real theory of any sort, just I wonder why they did this. But you must has the biggest number I've ever seen written down that is not literally a like version of pi.
100 googles.
Is that what that is?
Yep, that's what that is.
It's 1000 or 10 googles.
I can't remember. No, it's
because there's a 10 at the beginning of it.
No. If you include the 10, that's 100. I want to say it's 100 googles. I wrote that down. I have randomly on my notes with Truth to Power the word 100 googles.
Okay.
I am not going to claim that is what that is reference to, but in my brain, I'm assuming that I saw this number and I went out and figured it out. I don't know. If I'm wrong, just don't yell at me. I think that's 100 googles. Is what I'm saying.
There's just a lot of zeros.
There's a lot of zeros, which makes me think
they
that
should have done something to the something power instead.
Yeah, but that's not as impressive as two solid lines of text
that are zeros. Yeah.
Oh my god.
I don't know. It's just one of those.
So this is in the you must, right? Is where we're talking about. So this is also where we see Duel having the China set. And the choices there, we're kind of returning into the choice of the hallucination. So this is again continuation of step X. You're given a choice to drink from the Duel or drink from the China set. Or tea set, sorry, the fine tea set of Ahamkara bone. You can choose to drink or not. Basically, it's a matrix moment. And really, honestly, it doesn't really give you the option to not. It's just to drink. So to drink the poison, continue reading. Taste of bitter regret and psychosis sweat. Heyo. Also, I like the fact here that it's presented as a poison to end the thoughts of human, neo-human, or machine. So human, awoken, or exo. So basically, Cole, you don't get a get out of jail free card on this one.
Dang it! I was hoping.
Again, this is gonna kind of nod into the Book of Dust. Because you see a cosmos before you like a spider web of light, filament of galactic superclusters shine in the clouds of invisible dark matter which glue their mass together. Dark energy yawns in the space between all things, ever growing, ever spreading. Which is, a nod towards dust and the presentation of the 9 as the dark matter spider webs that are connecting kind of everything. And then this kind of goes back into the concept of the devouring black hole. And this is where you start getting presented with the idea of, Cole, again, going back to Cole's concept of the C3I as subversive. This is where you start seeing the kind of twisting of that screw. Because at the end here, it's presented to you as you are a guardian. You must protect life. And then immediately after it's if all life is information and guardians strive to preserve life and information is preserved when it is secret, then you must convert all life to the most secure form of secrets durable to the end of time. You must cast all the life you cherish into a black hole. It's like the most cyclical logic I've ever seen. Well, actually it's not, but it's a form of circular logic. And it's innately false in itself, because it's basically saying in order to protect life, you must destroy it. And because the definition that they are ascribing to what is life is information, and information will be retained by the master record of all that has been beaten, which is mentioned above. It says life arises, life spreads, contests itself, and changes. So again, sword logic. Great things are built and destroyed, but from your vantage point, you see that the victor of each struggle contains in its negative, in the marks left upon it by a loser and the shapes it assumed to win, again, sword logic, the master record of all that it has beaten. Information may not be erased. Whatsoever survives until the end of the cosmos will possess and remember all which came before it. There's another word for that. It's the final shape. So again, we see Savathun with the concept of Imbaru and Dual Ankaro with the concept of Imbaru. Same concept, different flavor of the option to achieve the final shape. That final shape is to be that master record at the end of all time. And so in order to do that, they are subverting the Guardian's definition of life to create a cyclical destruction machine, another infinite battery, if you will. And that's really, again, kind of, we're seeing the culmination of this subversive tactics that have been going on through this entire book. And it's basically, it's all been to kind of seed that doubt, seed that discomfort of what we know to be reality. Again, remember hallucinations, paranoia. It's very in line with what's being done to our Guardian within these entries. We see this mentioned in Stolen Intelligence about the waking hallucination that our Guardians experience as being reported to the Hidden, and as a point of concern about that particular point, because hallucinations cause paranoia. That's a very common, it's not necessarily caused, it's not exactly causal, but there are high correlations there. And again, this is where that cause of concern comes from, is this particular ending of this entry. And yeah, Black Flag in chat. It's an attempt to pervert our heroic nature so that we will become the charge for her murder battery. I cannot put that in a better way. That is extremely accurate. It's an attempt to pervert the noble nature of our Guardian into becoming a champion of darkness instead of a champion of light, by tricking us into thinking that by what we do, by justifying it by the ends. This is the ultimate argument that the ends justify the means. But I don't know if you guys have anything you want to weigh in on that one.
I mean, not really. I mean, it's just all the mentions of black holes in the last, and throughout this book, especially. Yeah, no, I'm good.
All right, so let's choose to react.
Another creepy.
So this is the other
card.
I mentioned the bookends. I think this is my argument would be that this is kind of the end part of it. So this is the ending of our waking hallucination.
Yes. So it basically ends up with us dying at the end, essentially, by jumping off the tower.
So this one, unlike the first one, this one actually does have different endings.
Multiple endings, yeah.
One which is actually the ending, which is step Z, which is the ending of the hallucination. But there are other, I guess technically they all do lead to the Z ultimately.
Mm-hmm. They do. Where you jump off the tower.
Mm-hmm. And you get the Atheon mask. What?
Yes. Yes, for pushing somebody off the tower, right? That's how that goes?
No, you got the Atheon mask was from literally just jumping
off
the tower.
Oh, right, from the Halloween event.
Yeah, from the Halloween, yeah. I love that. That was a huge nod to cheesing Atheon, because baby bumpers were not always a thing, Guardians. Baby bumpers were not always a thing.
Nope, not at all. Not at all.
I'm trying to think here. Really, other than just being a ending point, that's really it. To hear you leap from the tower and escape Coria's simulation. And then as we get to a pseudim, which is Medusa backwards, and I love the nod, the nod at the very beginning. You must be terribly confused. Yes, I am.
That is accurate.
That is an accurate statement.
Point.
I'm pretty sure that's the only fully accurate thing that I feel comfortable saying. Accurate fact is I am very confused. But again, this is reverting back to the presentation that this is Medusa, kind of an attempt to explain from the perception of Medusa what is going on. This is where we get nods to earlier entries about how they were misinformation by Coria. Namely, the point number 4 is, you must continue to hold the Dreaming City as long as you can. The things I said to you about black holes and the purpose of guardians were forced on me by Coria. So again, mixed messages here with the fact that Medusa has supposedly Medusa has said, this is the point of the guardians is, defend the city, bring all the guardians you can here, throw life into black holes because that's the ultimate protection. She's now saying, no, that wasn't me. It was me, but it was forced upon by Coria as a AI. Coria would be able to interface with her, because the Vex technological superiority there. We also do get a really kind of nice little explanation of the shibboleth used by the Ahamkara, with the vernacular trap, and also a little bit of a nod as to the explanation and conflict between the worm gods and the Ahamkara, the hive worm parasites. And that's in point number 3. I do kind of like that. Again, like chat's saying right now too, or Dino in chat saying, it's tough. We don't know how much of this is true. We don't know how much of this is false within game. So like there's a legit entire possibility that all of this is just made up. But there's also an entire legit possibility that some of this is actually true. We know that some of it is arguably accurate, because there's, again, degrees at which this could be point of view. It's just because your point of view is different doesn't necessarily mean you're lying. So, that to me is a nod to, that doesn't necessarily negate everything, because I can see the potential for bias, if you will, as being logically present. But I don't know if you guys have anything else within this particular one that you wanted to talk about.
Duel and Karu. Well, everything going on in this one. This book is a mirror. Mm-hmm. And so...
A dark mirror?
Well, maybe. It's just a mirror in general. It's the... We're returning back to the beginning. We had Eris, we had Medusa, we had Savathun, and now we're going back to Medusa. And then we'll end up with It's Just Me and Eris again. Mm-hmm. It's not perfectly folded in half, but there are 11 cards.
It's pretty close, yeah.
It's pretty damn close.
And I think means that's also nice too, because within the act, choose, react, we also see this cycle is very prevalent, which makes sense given that's the Dreaming City, right?
Mm-hmm. And you're dealing with Duel and Karu and Korea and everything.
I'm trying to think, again, I have an alternate take on the hallucinations too that I want to talk about after we get done with It's Just Me.
Let's do It's Just Me then.
Okay.
So let's finish it up.
So like Green, you were saying, this is the bringing in
Return.
Full circle of what is going on here. Do you want to give us a summary of it?
I'm so ashamed. Mid-sentence, mid-thought. It's basically the admission of feeling guilty over the whole thing, and Eris basically saying, hey, yeah, this really was me. I made everything up. I'm sorry. I'm ashamed. It sucks, but it's just that there's not much else to it. What a fool I've been. It was pitiful weakness, loneliness, that kind of thing. But beyond that, the fact that she says Ayat at the very end, it's just throws everything back out of whack.
Though the explanation of why she says Ayat at the end also can be used
which is
to
nice.
defend it. Because she says,
do you know what the Hive say when they want to express the inevitability of a thing? When they want to say it is this way because it could be no other way. Ayat. And thus ends that book, which is full of lies and full of things and full of confusion.
Yes. Yes, it is. You must be dreadfully confused.
Yeah, go ahead.
Ayat actually is Latin as well for third person singular.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's a fun little tidbit.
Though I think, if I remember correctly, that was not the intentional use of it. Because I know that it's the Latin term, because it was third person, is it the superlative? I don't even know. I don't know.
Superlative?
Grammar. That one. But I remember because Seth actually gave a definition of Ayat that he was using for the Book of Sorrows as well. And I don't think it was I think he might have used the term, but I don't think he's using the definition, if I remember that correctly. I'm not sure if I'm remembering that correctly, though.
I don't remember what Seth said, but should we start wrapping up a little bit?
Yeah. So what actually, before we do, I wanted to also make the comment about the saltine taste. We do, and Green, I completely forgot. I had mentioned this to you, but I completely forgot to bring this up. We do have another substance that causes hallucination and taste of salt that is specific to the Destiny universe, and that is the Vex milk.
Yes.
So with and the reason that is relevant for this particular entry, or these entries, is that, again, this argument that Korea is the one that is causing these hallucinations. It would make sense, and we do have previous experience with a Guardian who imbibed Vex milk and transcended things, and that would be Kabir. And we see that there's dangerous implications if that is what's going on, because with Kabir, we also see a nod of the comment, if you encounter me again, I will no longer be who I am now. So there's that, that factoid hanging over our mouth or over our minds. But I did want to make a comment that could also be a possible explanation of what is causing hallucinations and leaves the taste of salt. is the use of Vex milk. Yes, thank you, Dino. This is it. So this is the definition of ayat: is this is it, and its purpose is expression. Its meaning is the invocation of what it is. The mission is to draw the mind and make an incision of curiosity, and be that incision which is a question and its own solution. To make one hunger for an answer whose answer is its own wanting. Ayat: this is it. It is that utterance. Is the definition from Seth. And yeah, Trigger, actually, that's kind of where I'm one of my last spin foil theories is that this is not actually anyone that we've encountered before, but this could actually be Kabir reemerging.
Oh, whoa, that's a weird.
We have nods that Kabir has not been completely destroyed. We just know that Kabir is no longer a guardian.
How would Kabir get into the Queen's throne room /
Korea?
To leave messes. But why would Kabir be working with Korea?
Because Kabir is no longer Kabir. Kabir is part of the Vex network. Because when he ingested the milk to create the Aegis, and the reason why this weird spin foil theory exists in my head is because it neatly explains the inside information that this character that is writing this has about guardians, the familiarity of ghosts, the familiarity of what it is that guardians make as far as heroic things. Kabir was known as the Legionless. He was a renowned hero. He was, known for his courage. He was known for his heroic qualities, similar to, and again, I'm just, this is me just kind of spitballing, but it's like, again, this is not the first time that we've seen a massive hero suddenly become a villain. Rezel was exactly the same.
Well, no, Rezel was not exactly the same as Kabir.
As far as an arc, it could be. You could argue that it was.
But the Vex have no sort of path of sorrow that we know of.
But they have the ability to corrupt. It's just a different form.
Asher's been touched by the Vex.
And you could argue that Asher is corrupted. Asher himself comments that he could be corrupted.
But Asher still functions with the amount of free will that we suspect he still has.
Well, and there's a lot to unpack in that comment. But the other point within that is that Asher has only had a physical component of himself replaced. He did not actually fully imbibe and channel his light away to create a weapon of power. Kabir, again, we have a specific call out by Kabir that in order to create the Aegis inside the Vault of Glass, he gave up what it was to be a guardian.
Trigger, clarification on that. We don't know if that was actually the captain or if that was a Vex who had assimilated the personality and memories of the captain.
Which part?
Failsafe's former captain becoming a harpy.
Oh, yeah, well, Failsafe even admits that it's probably not.
Yeah.
But yeah, correct. Though, again, that kind of goes back into the argument. I mean, this is a potential massive tangent as far as like the concept of what memory is, as far as is it able to be engrammatically contained. With the existence of exos, that creates a very dangerous path in which that argument has a lot of validity. It would not be the first time that you could argue that a individual is digitized, if you will, into a machine form. And again, there's lots of problems with that definition or that conclusion with the exos being present. Because if you can digitize a human into an exo body, what prevents the Vex from digitizing? Or is the Vex how we learned how to digitize? there's a couple rabbit holes that go down that particular path as well. But yeah, no, I mean, I will be honest, I do have a slight theory that this whole thing is potentially going to lead to an introduction to Kabir, which I would love. But I mean, again, that's just a theory that I have. There's no grounds about that.
The lovely thing about this book is that it provides so many opportunities to introduce a whole slew of characters.
Yeah, and the other reason is because we've also seen recently a resurgence of Kabir focused items. We have Kabir's Glass Aegis, for instance, which has just recently gotten a lot of attention from people. And I mean, and to me, it could be coincidence. There's a lot of people that work on components within the story. There's a lot of different storylines going on. But, again, point of theory being, having fun and doing crazy theories. I would love to actually have another page or chapter in the story of Kabir, and I think this would be a really cool way to dovetail it back in.
So the whole point of this book is it is what was it? What's the easy way to put it? It's a virus. It's a way to get into our information system.
It's an earworm.
It's more than that.
Well, no, but I mean, as a concept of like,
horse.
right. So a parallel would be the same way that a weapon of sorrow is from Oryx's brood as a means to Trojan horse and violence. This is particularly a thought puzzle weapon of sorrow. This is an enigma that is designed to infiltrate and make people obsess over. And that goes back to that concept of Imbaru, right? This idea of achieving immortality through creating an obsession of trying to decipher the undecipherable.
So that actually segues into my theory about this whole book.
Oh, do tell.
Yes.
I'm excited.
The thing I've been hinting to this entire freaking time. So going all the way back to the beginning, we already see a quote-unquote code break. And it goes from character to character to character. And we've been sitting here for, 3.5 hours? Going over theories of what this could possibly mean here, what it could possibly mean there. It gives you the whole choose your own adventure thing, which eventually feeds into another thing, and then it goes back to choose your own adventure, and then it goes stair-steps back up the characters. I don't think it's Dolankaru, Eris, Savathun, the Vex. I don't think any of them wrote this for not one specific reason, but for various reasons. So it's none of the characters we know like we do. Because we can sit here and talk about any of these characters all night long. But it's one name we always overlook because it's like, oh, they got me again. I think it's the Architects.
It's a fourth wall break.
It's a fourth wall break. It's this whole book is a test to see how we as not only players, but as we think as our guardians, what we would do with this whole book. And as we're doing right now is Imbaru. We're talking about it. We're going to talk about it forever. So I think it's literally the Architects going from the real world into this world and giving us this book that none of us understand. And it even makes a connection back to Marathon, as we saw, which again was Bungie. So I think this whole thing is just Bungie screwing with us, not only as guardians, because that's how we're deciphering it, but as players, because this book is driving us crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And I acknowledge that my one problem with that is that from within like story, like just analysis and stuff like that, fourth wall breaks are really problematic because and they're all slippery slopes, right? You know, like as soon as you have one, you have the Deus Ex Machina potential. And I'm not gonna say I disagree, because I totally do see the point there. But I guess I would say I hope it's not a fourth wall break, because
I mean, we already had it with the 9, with the emissary.
But did we? Did we?
Yes, I think we did.
Did we? I would argue that there's a way to present that's not a fourth wall break.
Considering the verbiage and everything that is there, I think it was not as subtle.
It could be taken as a fourth wall break. I totally agree that could be like there's obviously different ways you can interpret things. As we've discussed with this, like, the words used doesn't, yay to English language. There's multiple meanings behind things, but I'm hard pressed to think of anything that it's like the concept of retcons, right? If you look at it one way, yes, it's a retcon. But if you look at it another way, it's not necessarily a retcon. It's just a clarification, which is admittedly a form of retcon, but it is not the negative form of retcon that everyone uses as a bait switch word.
Yeah.
I would say that the instance for the fourth wall break within the emissary, I understand a lot of people's interpretation of that as a fourth wall break. I disagree with it, because there is also an equally valid interpretation of keeping that within the universe of Destiny and maintaining that. So I mean, again, just I really don't like when fourth wall breaks happen, as humorous as they do tend to be.
Well, I don't think it's humorous. I think the fourth wall break is actually an intentional end game mechanic when Destiny is done and at its 10-year cycle.
Yeah, I mean, again, this is me just personally. I see it. I just hope it's not, because I don't know. That to me that destroys the escapism of what it is to be a video game. No,
really, it actually it pushes the escapism into reality, because when you think about it, and this goes back to, let's talk about the character thing, the last episode I was on. So we can sit here and we talk about it as characters. We go in, we play as our characters, and we have all these subtle little fourth wall breaks. And even right now, we're sitting here and we're talking it as if we're in the game, we're living this. And that's now that world, the Destiny world, leaking back. And when we take our character from game to game to game, and we keep playing and we keep getting more submerged into it and just living this life of, like, even I did it tonight. I'm an exo. Now, really, I'm human. Obviously, I'm sitting here and it's hot as heck in my apartment because I live in Texas, but I still think of myself as, if I lived in this world, I'd be an exo. Now we go through the entire game series, going through these things, going through these alien universes, these experiences, all that, and we wrap our minds around it, which, like the lore, it's all subjective to interpretation, just like real life is.
Mm-hmm.
And then we come to the final end of Destiny where, Bungie says, this is it. This is the last cutscene you're ever going to see. We're done. And before, even before the credits roll, it doesn't really matter. But that last cutscene that comes up isn't actually a rendered cutscene, but it's some darkened figure sitting in a room full of servers, because as we've seen, so many servers in the game, something similar to that. And the person says, thank you for playing the game. All of your data, your favorite weapons, race, origin, so on and so forth, has been saved. Your ghost will be waiting for you on the other side. You cannot tell me that wouldn't be so freaking cool at the end of Destiny. The whole thing being a test.
I mean, I'm going to have to agree to disagree with you.
I think it'd be amazing, because that's now escaping from leaking into this world.
I get it, and I like I said, I completely see that presentation. I do. I completely see it as a potential thing. To me, just personally, I view that as a huge cop out from a storytelling perspective. I just that's just my personal opinion. I'm not a fan of those particular things because the entire point of me playing a video game is to not connect with real world. That's just, again, personal choice there. I choose to play RPGs and the video games that I play because they offer me an alternative to reality. I make choices in game that if I were presented with a choice in real life, I would vastly choose differently. That to me is the entire crux and point of escapism, and that is what allows me also a heightened immersion with my characters within a virtual reality environment. But again, like I said, I see what you're saying, and I completely, if that's the ultimate goal, then sure, I guess that is what it is. But to me, that would leave a hollow feeling in me if that was actually the end, because it's like, no, that's not, to me, that's just not an end. That's just basically laziness as far as I'm concerned.
To me, that blurs the line really well, because if they actually had that cutscene of, your ghost is waiting for you on the other side, I'd be looking at the 13 ghosts I have on my desk going, just looking at them right now, there's literally 13 ghosts on my desk. And I say, okay, which one of you is it?
Right. No, and like I said, I get it. I get that because I've heard that. I've heard that particular idea multiple times, and to be blunt, it's also not just Destiny. There's a lot of RPGs, a lot of MMOs that have that same argument too. I don't know. I just, to me personally, I like having a compartmentalization present. Just personally. So, again, that's entire opinion. That's not anything factual or subjective analysis of anything like right there. But yeah, trigger in chat is like, I would struggle to see that as a true ending. But that's just my interpretation.
Yeah, I can see it from your perspective. Like, it would, there's no finality to it at all, and it, I can see it being hollow for some people. For me, that would be actually really cool to see, is just the blurring of the lines, because the whole thing is called Destiny, and we're making our legend through the entire game. So,
right, and I guess at the end of the day, too, I will end my never-ending counter argument to this point. I will end it with, it also depends on if that was the intent all along. I would probably be a little bit more okay with it, because a lot of times when you see that particular conclusion to a story of any kind, it really is just 9 times out of 10. It's like, I don't know how to end this, so I'm gonna wrap it up, and this is an easy Deus Ex Machina. Oh, it's all hallucination, anyways. I'm like, well, that's because, to me, what that tells me is that it doesn't matter. Like, and whereas you're saying, whereas you're interpreting is like, it does matter. To me, it's like that invalidates everything. It's like, I interpreted things specifically based off the understanding that this world existed in a cosmos within itself, and to end it like that would invalidate all those conclusions in a way. I don't know if that makes sense.
I can see that. No, it makes sense. That definitely makes sense. Definitely two different perspectives on it.
Oh yeah. And true, yeah. It's no different than it being, like, it would be no different than it ending and being like, oh hey, you were captured by the Vex. Nothing happened in the past 7 years. I'm like, God, I would probably have to walk away for at least a couple weeks, because I'd be like, really? So Green, stop us.
Yeah, Green.
Save us. Because this is a never-ending argument.
Yeah, I know.
It's a forever arguing battery. And
murder argument. I'm gonna murder some people for the murder argument. Sorry, this book just makes me tired. Makes my head hurt. Makes my brain tired.
Trust me, I've had a migraine this entire time. So, yeah.
All I hear is lore writers going, mission accomplished.
Yeah, basically. That's ultimately, I mean, Cole's idea about the architects or the fourth wall break. In all reality, even if it's not written from the perspective of the architects, it is the writers in some ways being like, I'm going to put in the most difficult, convoluted, just absolute, and forgive me for saying this, bleep me out, bullshit in a freaking book that's just going to make every lore person who has any inkling of what's going on just scratch their heads, because
and that's why I
feel like I love it, but I hate it. And that's what I told Cole earlier today. It's like, I love this book, but I really, really hate this book.
This is how you two are sitting over there, like tearing out your hair, going, "What does it mean? What does it mean?" I'm over here like, oh, that's cool. All right, let's go kill some stuff.
I've been murdering people in Crucible, taking out my frustrations there. So it's.
And I think that's also the beauty of the writing too, right? Is that it encapsulates the entire frustration because it's purposely written to be unsolvable.
Right. It is written to, and they say you are the, what is it? The one notepad or one something pad.
The one time password. Pad. By the time you figure it out, it will go back in time and rewrite it so that you can't figure it out based on what you figured it out with. It's a never-ending cycle. I love it. I love that entire concept because I also really like Doctor Who. So, it makes sense that I would like something as timey-wimey as this.
Right. It's a beautiful frustration. And I think it's the biggest frustration that we've had in D2 since some of the stuff in D1. Like, we used to get this mad at stuff in D1.
Yeah, and that's... Yeah, I can.
We haven't.
I mean, there's something. There's some things that I get that. I mean, like enchilada, for instance. I'm kind of wanting to know more about that, but I don't even know what is the actual word, because I'm sure people are confused. That one. It's enchilada. It's the same reason I call pahanine pancake. It's just because I get tired of mispronouncing the damn thing, and it's like whatever. You know what I mean? Except. People who don't know what I mean are probably endlessly confused why I'm talking about Tex-Mex food.
Right.
But enchiladas are good, actually. But anyways, but no, I mean, like, I think that's where I kind of, like I said, I had to read it numerous times before I started really kind of appreciating that it's like, okay, no, I'm not just missing something. I think that's actually the point, is to create that endless quest for understanding that is the human condition, that is tying in here, and that's the thing that really hooks you on this. And I love it because it just captures that so well without saying it. It's masterfully done, and I really think I can't say that enough. I think that this shows what it is that causes obsession is what's shown in this book. Because as much as you moan and groan and as much people complain about how this book is not making sense and blah blah blah, they're still talking about it. They're still trying to figure, like, it's a human thing to try to make stuff fit into some form of logic. And when you can't, it actually becomes that thorn in your side. It becomes that earworm in your head that you just can't let go of.
I like it.
But yes.
I also I want to know. I know the point of the book is a Trojan horse, essentially, into our own information system, but I want to know why. That is the thing that drives me crazy more than anything else in this book. Is like, why, writers, why?
But that is why.
Mm-hmm.
See, and I guess that's the thing is like I'm also coming at it from the recent conversation we had with John, where he admitted that a lot of some of the things that he's written is not actually to necessarily, I'm not going to say it's not to further things, but the point is to cause people to ask questions.
Right.
They are written specifically to cause this type of confusion, to cause this type of discourse, to cause this type of interaction. That is something that writers of this medium, they try endlessly to do. And to see that done so well with this book, as frustrated as it may cause people to get, is also a nod to just how skilled this particular writing team with Bungie, Seth, John, Mousy, Jill was with them. All of these writers are really aware of what it is that as players we are looking for, and they know how to pull on those plot hooks. They know how to pull on those heartstrings, if you will, to keep us coming back from a storytelling perspective. Or we can take it in the way that Veru is saying, and Savathun controls Destiny writers. That's your architects for you right there. But anyways, shout outs. I don't know how else to segue out of this. Green, save us.
Again.
She left. She's like, I'm done. This is nonsense.
Oh, sorry. I had myself muted. I was like, yeah. Shout outs are I have two shout outs. One is kind of more a personal shout out for my channel. I am streaming on a more regular basis, so if you are on Twitch and have a bit of time and you see me pop up in the feed, hit me up at Green Eyed Music Lover on Twitch, which would be awesome. Come hang out. Sometimes we talk lore, especially if you ask things in chat. Sometimes we just hang around and argue and shoot things and talk about things that are probably not FFC safe sometimes. It's just, there's a whole slew of things. But that is one of them. The other one is a shout out to the upcoming event of Guardian Con and all of the charity streams that are involved with that. If you are a supporter of children's health in general, you don't have to do the Guardian Con per se charity stream or anything like that. Just reach out, promote, do things to help further that cause, because I think that cause is a very important one for the Children's Hospital and everything like that. So that's my shout outs plural this time around. Just help out where you can, be there for other people, and try to make each day a little bit better for somebody in the world. Sentimental, short, and sweet. Cole, your turn. Shout out.
Shout out to pancakes.
Pancake! Yeah. Oh, wait, you're talking about the actual food. I get unnaturally excited with pancakes. Never mind. I'm going to cut that out of the episode.
Nope, it's staying.
That's totally... Damn it.
Yeah, there you go. No, but I don't think I really have any shout outs other than, if you're going to Guardian Con, you can come see me at the booth called Bad Redacted Joke. It's no longer Bad Destiny Joke.
What is it with the redacted title now?
It's because she has 5 billion different accounts.
I can't call it Bad Destiny Anthem Halo Borderlands Joke. That is way too long.
I mean, you could. You can make an acronym out of them.
I could, but then Omni Waffle, who runs the artist booth alley, it's going to be all ticked off that the name is so long and doesn't fit on a banner. So to just cover the entire branding, it's just bad redacted joke now. Plus, I won't get sued for using a game name. So,
yeah. That's always good.
Yeah, I don't want to get sued.
Bad sci-fi shooter joke.
Oh gosh.
Bad sci-fi shooter joke.
That's all I got.
That's very. Shout out to Pins, man.
Right.
Gifting subs at the beginning of the stream. That was really extremely generous, Pins. I hope you don't get in trouble for that. We appreciate it. And as Viru has stated as well, shout out to the narrative director, Savathun. We appreciate your hard work and continued Imbaru fascination. But no, in all seriousness, a big shout out to the writing team. Like, the writing team has continued. We say this a lot, but the writing team has continued to keep us invested in Destiny. I know that for me personally, the story is pretty much the only reason I'm still invested in Destiny. And I can't compliment enough the writing team for their part in that. And, just reiterating Green's shout out, just do random acts of kindness. Really, it's just, that's a good thing to try to do, on a, just randomly, pay for someone's coffee. Even you never know how sometimes the little random acts of kindness actually, pay it forward, if you will. So,
yep.
But yeah, so everyone, will see you next week. And that's all I got. Bye.
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 And over.
And open. Oh my god, I do not like what they did with Most Loyal. Why can I not just run Lost Sectors?
You can do just public events.
That's what I'm doing. I'm just daisy chaining public events back and forth.
Yeah.
Though
that's the way I did
Numbnuts doesn't freaking trigger the heroic, that doesn't seem to. No, I haven't gotten anything from normal events.
Oh, really?
Yeah, no, I've gotten shit drops. I think I've been playing public events this entire time, and I've gotten 3 cards. Bye, Cole.
Cole dropped, didn't she? I think she wants pancakes.
She wants pancakes, apparently. I kind of want to go get pancakes now.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, it's only 2, right? That's totally pancake time.
Sure.
I have a feeling that my wife might disagree with that.
Your son wouldn't. Your son would totally be on your side.
I'd be like, hey, little guy, get up. We're going to get pancakes. What? Like, he would be so out of it. But yes, he would agree. Thanks, Shay. Yeah, I know this one was kind of a wonky one.
Yeah.
But I mean, I am serious. I think as you read more and more of this one, I think, to me at least, the appreciation did increase significantly the more I read it. But I also would iterate that you want to go into it with an open mind.
I think you should read the book first without having any sort of, I'm going to break this book. I'm going to break the code.
Yeah, that's what I kind of mean is, like, I think a lot of people have approached this book with the bias of what is being said in Stolen Intelligence. And they are applying that to the whole thing, which I'm like, I'm always a huge opponent of throwing babies out with bathwaters. Like, that to me is not a good way to, especially with analysis, it's not a good way to do things. Not saying that it's not necessarily true, but just to to go into it with a presupposition that that's what it is, I think that'll make you miss a lot of things.
Yep, I would agree. Goodness. Okay.
Yeah.
To. Ugh.
I will say that people on the Tangled Shore are a little bit better at triggering. Well, the crypto one is easier to
Right.
trigger.
I don't think it's a difficult thing to trigger.
No, this one, the one that I've noticed that a lot of people don't trigger, and I don't know if it's because it's just so easy to burn the boss down so fast, but it's the crypto one on Skork's Cut, the one with the Cabal. Like,
yeah.
I don't know why, but you can burn that guy down in like 30 seconds, whereas with the Fallen, for some reason it seems like, yeah, I don't know where that came from, because you're freezing him probably, but like that one seems to take a little bit longer to knock him down, and so you have more time to actually unlock it.
Yep.
Where's the next one?
Boy.
And I also don't like the fact that there's not a fast travel point to Fourhorn Gulch.
Yeah, I know. That one's also annoying.
How do you trigger the heroic on that one? I haven't run enough of those to figure.
So you have to shoot. You have to shoot out the little white ghosty thingies that are trying to go into the servitor. It's a pain in the ass, and the best way to do it is with an auto rifle or a submachine gun.
So you just destroy the Liam Neesons.
Yes.
Okay.
The little white Liam Neesons that don't actually hurt you.
It's because he's stupid thick. Yeah, I guess that is. He is a larger target than the Fallen. That's funny. Oh no, I missed that jump.
Okay. Need to tell her. I know she jumped off already, but need to.
I'll put the link up in the group.
Okay.
If she can save it as a WAV file.
Yep.
There's a lot of enemies here. Oh my god, I love Ace of Spades. All right, chat. You guys have a great night. We'll see you later, and if you'll see Green before us, because she streams like every day because she's a mad woman.
Not every day, but getting there.
But yes, I would also encourage you guys to all go over there. I think, we have you set up to auto host over here, right?
Yes, I think so.
Cool. I'll have to. Wanted to make sure I did that.
Yep,
all right,
yep.
Cool. All right, guys. Have a good night. We will see you next week, or I'll see you next week. Green will probably see you, I don't know, tomorrow. Something.
Yep. We're going to try to do hopefully some raid carries.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
All right, stream. You guys have a good night.